Polt did win it, but going back at it, Polt won 3-2. I would say 4 out of 5 games were absolute bomber games. They had that ridiculous game on Way Station, I'm not sure if you remember, where it turned into a crazy base trade where they had Rexes all over the map, and suddenly Polt picked off 7 tanks. But he was down in tanks, he was down in Marines. It was a game that Polt should have lost, but he won. Overall, Bomber looked really solid in that series, and it's safe to say that after Lone Star Clash, that's really where Bomber's year started. He was runner-up in WCS America Season 2, he won Atlanta, he won DC, and now he's here again in the quarterfinals. Bomber over the last few months, other than that loss against CJ Enter's Hero, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I have to agree. As we go into the map veto process, there's really not too many surprises that you can pull out. I think it's interesting that we'll start off on Foxtrot Labs, but for TvT, maybe you just want to get it out of the way. Deadwing and Catalina, big vetoes because Catalina is like the Doom Drop map for TvT.
I mean, I'm giggling because that's the map where that Widowmine of Bomber killed his own units on Washington, D.C.
Ah, yes.
He's like, never again. That's the map where my own units turn against me. I'm not doing that again. Fighting my opponent is enough. Like you said, interesting first map, Foxtrot Labs. Probably the least popular map in the current map pool. Probably a map where neither of these two players has a whole lot of experience on. It's one of those maps that in a best of 3, I would say 90% of the time it will get vetoed.
Yeah. For Terran versus Terran, you have a couple of interesting features about the map for this matchup. Based on the spawns, it feels weird because we're already going into the spawn talk, but it's very easy to siege the main base at that ramp up to the natural if you go for any type of early tank play. So you can cut the main off from the natural very early on. Reapers are great on this map for either spawns because there's so many different ways that you can get into either main base. And scouting shouldn't be too difficult. With those wide open areas, it also makes early pushes tricky. You don't have a ramp into your natural if you get the top left, bottom right spawns. I mean, honestly, I'm talking about 2 maps right now because the spawns dictate so much of how the early game on this map works.
And of course, this is a series that Axiom's heart will be watching very closely as well, because there is nothing better than playing a matchup when you just see 2 of your potential opponents go up against each other in a best of 5. Heart is probably like, hey, let it go all the way, let it go to 5 maps, get very tired, get very exhausting, and show us all your openings. You know,
just give me a lot of source material. You know, I have another match I need to play, and for Terran versus Terran, it's also important if all the matches go long, then suddenly you have a potentially tired player, so fatigue can always come in.
No, definitely, especially, I mean, you know it as a Terran player, 5 TvTs, especially if they're not as explosive as they has been lately. If you play 5 25-minute plus games where it all comes down to 3-3 Marines with a lot of drop, it can be one of the most intense matchups to play because there can be a lot of stuff happening at once.
The early game is so stressful for TvT. Haven't we seen it in almost every series, at least 1 or 2 maps for the last few months? You have very aggressive openings, either the Banshee, the Hellion drop, but the follow-up's equally aggressive. The Raven medevac attack with the auto turret tank drop. Like, there's just so many different ways that you can lose a TvT at the very beginning in the first 10 minutes. And then once you get to that late game stage, then it's all about the tank positioning, constantly scanning, keeping your eyes open. Polt, he's been there. He's had a couple of rough TvTs in the last few months. So I'd say this year, his TvT hasn't particularly blown me away. The best series he had was using aggression himself to take out Tasia in Battlegrounds Detroit in the final when he was actually able to qualify for DC.
That victory sort of came out of the blue. Of course, Polt, you know, you never really count him out any series that he goes into because this is what he's been doing throughout his entire career. He surprises you, he upsets you, or he delivers. It's one of the 3 pretty much. But that trio victory against Tasia, that was a shocker, that tournament in Detroit. That came out of the blue because that really had everything set in stone for just to be one of those tournaments that Tasia just steamrolled, because Tasia does not really lose tournament finals, especially not 0-3.
Yeah, especially you know, Tasia in a lot of his finals, even if he wins decisively, sometimes you have longer games, but in that one, it was like a 30-minute best-of-5 final. That was tough.
That was exciting, though. I remember we were going pretty nuts that series.
It was insane because that's how TvT is, but it was insane and over very fast. Bomber, of course, has had a bit better. He played quite a few TvTs. He was able to defeat Polt twice, as we said. He also defeated Cure in the grand final, Battlegrounds DC, a GSL Code S semi-finalist. Who at the same time,
he really looked invincible in that series as well. Like, Going into it, you were not exactly 100% sure, but you knew that it was carrying a lot of momentum because he was just so confident. I said it, like if you look at Bomber when he's sitting on the stage, he has this aura of confidence around him. It just seems like nothing shakes him. He doesn't really think about the money that's on the line. Of course, he has won plenty of that in his career, Polt as well. But it just seems that he never really gets too upset or too nervous by whatever is going on in the games, because I think 99% of the players would absolutely freak out if you lose 2 maps back-to-back within 6 minutes. Bomber, no, he kept himself composed and he played a fantastic Game 5 against Polt in DC. And that is truly one of his biggest strengths, other than his ability to read the game and realize when to finish it, and above all, not waste any time. You know, when ahead, get further ahead. That is something that Bomber, that's something that probably doesn't translate very well to Korean, because Bomber has never heard of it. He's like, no, when ahead, go win.
Yeah, Bomber's he's quite good at finishing games,
Yes.
I would say. That's definitely something he doesn't have any problems with. As
All
we
right.
load in, we're just about ready to kick off our second semifinal. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this best of 5 will go on to face Axiom's Heart in the grand final of WCS America Season 3. In the top left position, our first player in red, the Terran representing Cooler Master Storm. Give it up for Polt.
And over here on the right bottom side of Foxtrot Labs, the Terran has been on an absolute roll lately. A crowd favorite as well. Give it up for Bomber. This definitely is one of the series that can also mess a lot with the WCS ranking as we know it right now.
Yes, especially because Hyun has been eliminated. If Bomber were to win the WCS America Season 3, he takes first place overall seed, I believe.
Yeah,
or
I
Polt
think
could also if he won too, right?
Yes, if Polt wins the entire thing, I think Polt will be rank 1 overall. But yeah, I think you're right, because Sean lost in the semifinals, so Sean won't make it to the finals. If either of these 2 players wins this entire tournament, then they will most likely finish rank 1 WCS overall in 2014. That means that you will play against Jaedong.
Jaedong, yeah.
And
both these players have Great Terran versus Zerg.
Yeah, both of these players have defeated Jaedong 4-0 in the tournament final. They have that in common.
Yeah.
Then again, Jaedong is also a player that has an aura of confidence around him in general, so I guess he won't be too shaken up by that. He'll probably just look at it as an opportunity of revenge.
It's interesting as we get closer and closer to BlizzCon. These seedings now do change the entire possible makeup, because you put one of these guys on the other side of the bracket, and then suddenly the round of 16 not only changes, but then the round of 8 possible matchups changes drastically. Definitely.
There are probably a few players that are hoping that one player either wins or doesn't win. There's a lot of theory crafting to be done. You guys can always head over to Team Liquid. There's a live report thread that shows you all possible outcomes of the round of 16 matches for BlizzCon, of course, the biggest tournament of the year.
Yeah, this is... So far, on this map, we're seeing out of Bomber the quick factory build, which is pretty standard. It's very, very popular thing to go for on this map. But Polt choosing to go for the Reaper. He's taking that early risk to get the economy, and I only say risk because in TvT, usually the player that tries to expand first finds themselves in a little bit of trouble.
Yep, Reaper is going to run up this ramp, of course. You want to make sure that you won't lose this Reaper. Bomber has not scouted yet, and I kind of expect to see this very often throughout this series. I think this TvT series, this is one that's Bomber going to play on instinct. He is going to just execute his builds. He has preset builds, he always has that. We spoke with him about this in the past. He looks at a series, he makes a plan for the maps that he will play or that he thinks he will most likely play, and then he's just going to execute this build. Bomber is not a player that tries to adapt too much on the fly. No, he has his game plan set in stone, and obviously if there's something that he has to make a drastic adjustment to, like he sees something that he feels he needs an extra bunker or something, he will do it, but he's really not going to be like, alright, I open up with a Reaper and then I'll just take it from there. If he does this, I'll do that. Like, no, Bomber has his plan set.
Yeah. So far for this game, the opening play will be that Banshee. Bomber will have enough gas to get Cloak if he wants. Okay. And he's going to expand. So going for an expansion build means that he kind of needs to get something done. And this Reaper actually slowing it down for Polt. Really sexy play. He has another SCV. And of course, these Marines are quite slow. If he sends the Marines down to the natural, then he can jump into the main, get a follow-up scout. And you can see that Cloak has now started.
Yep, that's something that I think the Reaper didn't see, right? Did it see the the tech lab spinning already? Maybe actually he did.
Looks like he got some. Yeah,
well, he's going to see it now
he'll
regardless, so it doesn't really matter. Great scout by Polt. Get the SCV as well, of course, that was building that command center. Might even be able to get an extra one. No, he's not going to get that done for now. I think this Reaper will eventually fall, as there are a couple of Marines there as well. But still, that was an okay investment. Polt, or excuse me, Bomber immediately cancels Cloak, drops another command center, I believe.
Yep.
So he definitely switches it up after Polt scouted him.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, in Terran versus Terran, the reason why builds like this work, even though you might say Polt has such a faster expansion. Well, now Polt's going to get an engineering bay. There's a possibility that he throws up a couple of missile turrets out of fear of being hit by Cloak.
Marines out of position.
That really complicates things.
Yep, and this is of course a nice little area for that Banshee to just hover around as well, be annoying, try to pick up as many FCs as possible. There's a Widow Mine over here in the mix as well, so Bomber has to be on top of his Banshee control. Good play there by Polt, gets pretty close to picking off that Banshee. Oh, well, he doesn't want to give up yet.
Is he gonna boost for it? No.
And if only you could drop like the badass Navy SEAL Marine that can like stand on impossible
You just
terrain.
lean out the side, man, let it rip. Can we shoot out the windows of this thing, damn it? We are actually on top. We are literally touching the opposing vehicle.
You don't even have to shoot. You can just throw your gun and it will probably go down.
Look, I can see this Banshee has there's no rims left on it. It's dented, bruised.
It's smoking, but no. All right.
Not in this fantasy universe. Extra barracks are on the way, so we're going to see some Marine tank versus Marine tank. No mech from either player. Neither of these players particularly, I'd say, notorious for going for the mech strategies, but we've seen Bomber bust it out every now and again.
Out of these two, I would definitely say that Bomber is a bigger mech player than Polt. Bomber is still a bio player. He's the bio player by heart. I feel that's what he excels at, but there are certain maps where he just feels like, hey, mech's pretty good in this map. I'm going to go mech. And then he just like does something silly. He sits back, and when he marches across the map, he wins. Because that's how most of Bomber's games go.
Yeah, we've seen Bomber go for the very heavy Blue Flame Hellion type styles that have been increasingly popular.
That Widow Mine. The Widow Mine is kind of difficult.
Shutting down this drop would be quite nice. Bolt's trying to find an opportunity to get something done. Oh, this is just like finding the one spot where you can be really annoying.
One Marine got dropped on the wrong location.
Hey, you kill an SCV, delay the gas, and you just pull back and chill, man. That medevac's going to heal you up.
Yeah. Polt, does he know about that orbital command? Well, he knows now as he throws down a scan in the main base. I think this is the first time that he saw that additional orbital command already sitting there. Perhaps he sort of picked up on it because he's like, hey, you have a surprising few amount of units, and there wasn't Banshee number 2 or 3, and you never activated Cloak either. So, you know, I wasn't born last night, Nate.
No, this build ain't right. That's for sure. He's continuing to put just this nice little bit of pressure just by having the medevac here. I love the Widow Mine out front of the natural. If anything tried to skirt outside, even if it's not in range, he has vision of that whole area. So Bomber can't really leave his base without Polt knowing about it, aside from the drops. And even then, he still has a couple of Marines spread out as well.
Yeah. Foxtrot Lab is also a difficult map to attack in general, especially if one player is sitting in a defensive position. That Widow Mine does pick off a Hellion, so that's nice. I'm not sure if Bomber was paying attention to it, because often you just send your Hellion across the map and then suddenly you're like, hey, it died.
Yeah. It's either you can't, not too easy to see them. You usually don't expect them to be as close or as far away. No. Widow Mines at this stage in the game at least. But the third base is going to be built on location for Polt.
Polt has to pay attention. If he loses that medevac, I think that he's going to focus the medevac immediately. Good movement there by Bomber. I love it when they do that, Nate.
Oh! Well, 5 Marines die. That's not bad for Polt, especially considering what he just lost.
True. 3 medevacs full of units. Bomber really doesn't have any map presence at all. If you just take a look at his vision. Man. Bomber has no vision at all on that side of the map.
Well,
he has a Widow Mine.
He has 2 tanks in his main, a couple of Marines. He recognizes that
this should be all right.
Like right about now is when those big drop plays really come in, because medevac production is
there is a Widow Mine as well, because his medevacs change course. Now this missile turret is about to finish off. I think Polt is still going to try. That Widow Mine will most likely get a volley off. Might actually get
Now he's locked in for life, Roddy. Widow Mine helps to soften up these tanks. Bomber's SCV pull helps, and he just shuts this down.
One tank shot just killed 3 tanks over there from Polt. Polt is able to evacuate a couple of Marines out. Did take down 10 SCVs, but that wasn't for free. Losing 3 siege tanks, 2 medevacs, a few Marines.
When you consider how much faster Bomber's 3rd command center was, it's it's workable. He is down on workers, but it's not,
he's
in
up
this
in
matchup
units.
with mules, it's not that big of a deal.
No, and most of the time when Bomber is up in units, that's when the magic starts happening. He has a really good game sense or just excellent read on the game in any situation. Even when, you know, crazy things have happened early on, he's still so good in reading the strength of his army and comparing it to the one of his opponent. I kind of feel if he's just going to sit back, that is exactly what Polt wants, because Polt knows, like, all right, that wasn't the most successful drop ever, but I did do some economic damage. But of course, Bomber is going to go on a small adventure, and he's up in siege tanks, he's up in marines.
Yeah, Bomber hasn't started an armory yet. Polt is about to finish, so Polt can move into his additional upgrades very shortly, whereas Bomber might find himself falling behind if his aggression doesn't get something done here. I don't think he has enough units to just break him yet.
Tanks are a little
Polt
bit exposed.
Great snipe, great snipe.
Well,
I mean, time is working in Polt's favor at the moment because that slight worker lead, but also the upgrades. His +2 is started in Marines with any type of upgrade advantage. Just slaughter.
Bomber, not again.
Polt's combat shield's a little bit late though. His Marines aren't as buff.
Armor finishing up for both players as well. That first pickup was nice though. Polt's gonna try to do that again, but this time Bomber is ready to deal with that.
Armory just now starting for Bomber, as well, Bomber does have double tank production going. Polt had just finished the second factory too, so everything so far is very close between the two of them, especially now that combat shield is done. And Bomber has pretty heavy amount of Marines. He's got a nice medevac count lead.
He's looking for an opportunity. He's trying to see if he can find the tanks.
He's close to being able to crack this. If he hits from 2 different directions and can draw the tank fire, maybe that's the way to do it.
Oh, he's going to siege up the tank. Some of his tanks will be able to pick up this one tank of Polt, so that's nice. Increases the tank lead. One of the tanks on siege now as well for Polt. This might be Bomber's moment. A lot of reinforcements coming in as well from the north side though for Polt. This could be a game-deciding battle already between these two. It seems like Bomber has a better engagement over here. All of his Marines start shooting at once.
He's zoned out the third base. Polt's third is going to get swatted down. SCV's coming over to repair. Some tanks are now sieging. Bomber,
the orbital.
Will he get the command center? No. Great save so far, but these tanks are still in a nice position to focus down the workers, to focus even just the command center at this point too.
The 3 tanks on the right side are on sieging right now for Polt. Polt wants to make sure that they will start participating in this battle again. For now, Polt had a good save about it though, but these tanks are sieging up a little too close.
Taking some fire, and Bomber still holds on to this
medevac.
Sexy aggressive position.
That medevac is in a beautiful position. Bomber will finally lose one of his tanks, but he's still up in supply quite a bit. But the upgrades though, 2-2 is about to finish up for Polt. He just tims forward. He gets a couple of siege tanks
Polt.
there. Wow.
Oh man, if you wait till a 2-2 is done, I think then it's you completely sweep that fight. And now Bomber, another wave is coming. The 2+2 attack is not done just yet either.
Yep, scans go now. Polt does have a tank lead now after picking up all... No, actually he's still down a tank. But he has all of his tanks in an okay-ish defensive position.
+2 is done now. Bombers has pretty much just started.
He's down 34 Marines though. Like, upgrades are fantastic in this matchup, but 34 Marines, I feel that's...
It all depends on the position, because if all the Marines don't fight at once for Bomber, that further complicates things.
Okay, I think Bomber is gonna go...
Yeah, Polt sends off a drop. Bomber's been rallying down the map, so his third base is actually quite exposed.
And he only starts +2 attack as well. Bomber doesn't even start +2 armor. I have the feeling that Bomber doesn't really want to drag this game out too much longer. Gets another tank there. Really excellent use of the medevacs so far of Bomber, providing vision for these tanks.
Great catch by Polt. Says, you're not going to keep your medevac parked on top of my army, and that denies the tank vision. Oh, so
Look
important.
at that line of tanks, man. Polt is playing a very strong defensive game so far, because it's very easy to be caught out of position once against a player that's as active as Bomber. Bomber really needs to do something soon, because like you said, he's rallying everything across the map. He's going to pick up a lot of his Marines. This is a massive, massive drop. And he still has a lot in the middle, though. If he sieges up those tanks, I'm not sure if Bomber can just bomb rush that, but of course he's going to pick up a lot of SCVs on the right side of the map, but he has to worry about his main
supply
base.
Block too. He's not even making that many units, so there's no units that should come out during this fight. Breaking this position will be tough, but there's...
Tanks.
I think it's actually 2 Marine heavy that's dropped the Bomber mate. He doesn't have any tanks to actually fight off these better upgraded Marines that Polt has.
At the same time, Bomber is trying to pick up this third base, so there are a couple of tanks that will get picked up as well, and of course, he should just evacuate this now, I guess, right?
Yeah,
there's no need to lose all of these Marines.
Polt's better upgraded forces will kill this off, so he defends. He loses a lot of add-ons, though. The third base, so important of a pickoff for Bomber, and now he's got the lockdown.
Yeah, this
Keep
is...
in mind, Bomber's third base was also routed by the drop that Polt had sent over earlier, because I said, like, there's nothing there to defend. So suddenly, now Polt is up in supply with better upgrades. He's going to try to break this tank line. So many injured Marines just dying instantly.
But he does get most of these tanks.
Crack the tank line. Polt secures his natural once more. He does still have that third command center he can land over. Oh man, this game, it's been a slugfest, Roddy.
Yeah, he did lose a lot of SCVs, though 32 SCVs got picked off. Now Bomber is the one who's up 18, 19 SCVs, but of course Bomber is down in upgrades, and quite a bit even, as +3 armor is about to finish up for Polt, while +3 attack, excuse me, and +2 armor for Bomber has just started.
Yeah, Bomber loads out another drop, and almost actually, yeah, should be spotted by these Marines of Polt. Bomber does not want a repeat of his medevacs getting caught out in the middle of the open, that's for sure.
Pretty active game number 1 so far between these two Terrans that have been running into each other quite a few times. Bomber did a good job in just evacuating that base when he realized he didn't really have anything in position to defend it, and dealt a lot of damage on the other side of the map.
Yeah, without that sensor tower, he also doesn't know that this next one's coming in. Look at all these add-ons that have started. These barracks, not only are they not doing anything, but he's not going to be able to get the value of these reactors by any means. And suddenly, Polt, I mean, what do? You don't really have too much here.
No. Picking up those reactors, like you said, picking up the refinery as well. One of these reactors is going to go down.
He's losing barracks, too.
Yeah, and it's still hard to engage this little army as well. Polt has to be a little bit careful about that. Polt's going to lose 1 tank, 2 tanks immediately. So this is already okay-ish for Bomber as well. In the end, he's going to get a couple of Marines before Polt will be able to clean up this drop. But he lost quite a bit.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Polt's medevac's been trying to put some more harass on Bomber's base. He will catch it inside of his main. Great grab for Bomber.
And this third base, though, is pretty exposed now because all of the units were stuck in the main base. No tanks in position. I think this might actually be the end of this orbital command. A couple of tanks getting picked off as well. Now Polt immediately starts mass repairing it. Good call there.
Yeah, Bomber really wants to pick off this base. Keep in mind, Polt's Marines, they are strong as they knock down this army.
Wow.
Bomber, I mean, if you're watching this, like, hey, Nate, how good are upgrades? Pretty damn good in this matchup.
Yes. 3-2 against 2-1 is pretty beautiful in general.
Yeah, these Marines for Polt are ripped, to say the least.
It's 2-2 now for Bomber, so it's a little closer in the next engagement. Bomber is still up 21 workers. Is slightly down when it comes to the army supply. It's been it's been an explosive game, but not explosive in the way of the first drop has ended it. It's been explosive as in the
first
trading
drop
blows back
pretty
and
much
forth.
just that just lit the fire on this powder keg of action that we have in front of us. Bomber's going to go for another drop once again.
Polt really has absolutely nothing in the main. I think this time Polt is going to just go all out. He's going to let it go. He's going to realize, he can't defend this anymore. There's almost no way. He's too far out of position. Polt is going to have to sacrifice that base, maybe transfer some of the SCVs, fly over buildings. He's going to have to make the magic happen with this army. If Bomber holds, he wins the game.
Yeah, well, Bomber, with his tanks sieged up, even with inferior upgrades, he's cleaned up the Marines. He's going to snipe these tanks off and take a double supply lead. Game number 1 looking like it's going to go to the Red Bull Terran player.
This guy, Nate, this guy just keeps on winning games so far. This wasn't easy at all. Polt put up a really good fight, but in the end, it's not enough. Bomber wins game number 1 in, I wouldn't say convincing fashion, but definitely in an exciting manner.
He really had to fight for that one, but when you're down on upgrades in TvT, all you have to do is get a little bit behind an army supply and it's over. Bomber consistently had more units on the map than Polt, and even though Polt made a couple of fancy moves, Polt never made any big striking blows to Bomber, especially his production, which was, arguably what gave him that big lead. Polt lost add-ons left and right, he lost barracks, and constantly had to pull units back into his main base to defend against the drops. He couldn't really get aggressive himself at all.
I mean, of course, it all starts with that first 3 medevac drop off Polt. That drop did not do the damage that Polt was hoping for. He got 10 SCVs, but that's not what you want. He lost 3 siege tanks, 2 medevacs, lost a bunch of Marines. That Widowmine did a very good job in suffering up. Like, this is a game-changing moment, I think. Look at this 1 tank of Bomber kills those other 3 tanks in like 1 volley or something. Like, now all 3 tanks just die at once. It's insane. And that's not what Polt was looking for.
It's a huge investment when you consider that he had a nice little lead from the way that he opened up. You get your first command center much faster than your opponent. You're even able to delay Bomber's natural expansion a little bit with that Reaper. And your first attack just does nothing. And suddenly, he had a couple tank lead. He dropped that, lost his medevacs, started his reactor on his starport after that drop.
I definitely felt the moment that Bomber was putting on the pressure on Polt, Bomber was a little more active with providing vision on these medevacs. Like, he was getting a couple of tanks for free here and there. And normally Polt is obviously a master in that as well, and either providing those medevacs from getting the vision on his tanks, or being the one who's actually doing that, unsieging tanks, leapfrogging forward, and then getting that first or second free volley off, which will allow you to win that tank-on-tank fight. But that's why really Bomber put himself apart from Polt as well. He got 3-4 tanks for almost nothing.
Yeah, that's Yeah, in Terran versus Terran, it's really risky to try to run up and pick off those tanks as much as you can, especially when you're in those spread out positions. But Bomber is a very decisive man. He knows what he wants out of life, Roddy. He knows.
He's a simple man as well. He doesn't really make things more complicated than it has to be in and outside of StarCraft 2. I would love to be Bomber, Nate. I think I would be very happy.
Yeah, Bomber's he's got it all together.
Yes, he is.
Of course, he's our blue Terran player in the northeast position of Merry-Go-Round. He is sponsored by the awesome company Red Bull. He is Bomber.
And on the 6 o'clock position of Merry-Go-Round, we have the Terran player that's represented by Cooler Master Storm. Give it up for Polt.
You know, it goes without saying, Kev, that Polt is, without a doubt, one of the most well-loved players that compete and live in the United States and in all of the North American tournaments. He's been around. He's had a lot of success last year with 2 WCS America championships. Bomber, I feel like this was the year where you know who Bomber is, you know about the success that he's had, but this year, I really fell in love with watching his games and really watching him playing, getting to know him a little bit better.
That helps a lot. You know, the moment that you start spending more and more time with these guys and you start to know them outside of the game as well, I totally agree with you. Of course, 2013 was a very successful year for Bomber. He won the global finals of Season 2 in Cologne, and he was absolutely unstoppable at that tournament. He just pulled the SUVs all day, every day, and he just won. And at BlizzCon, he had a very good run, made it all the way to the semifinals. The only player he lost against was SOS, the champion of BlizzCon last year. But earlier this year, it was a little quiet around Bomber, and you kind of thought, like, oh, maybe he's going to be just one of those guys that sticks around, collects a couple of paychecks, but doesn't really have the fire burning anymore. But the opposite is true. This guy still lives for the game. He just has a very different approach to it. He doesn't want to be in a team house. He doesn't want people to tell him what to do. It's like, no.
Yeah,
no, I'm Bomber.
That just reminds me of like when we were coming up, because he stayed with us for a while before his Season 2 performance for the finals. When we were driving and there was a Pro League match on. I was like, well, Bomber, let's look at the VODs or whatever. Like, we're sitting in the back seat with him. We pull him up, like, oh, like Stats played some other Protoss player. He's like, I don't want to watch that. He's like, only Terran games. I'm like, you don't study any other games? He's like, no. He's like, why bother? Like let's watch Maru 2-Rax.
If you give Bomber the choice between like Rain versus Zest or let's say I don't know, Nathanius himself, then Bomber would probably prefer to watch Nathanius.
Well, he's certainly a good comedy show for him, at least, that's for sure.
But yeah, he is really a great dude, and I definitely think it helps being so level-headed while going into tournaments like this, because you can really
nothing phases him.
No, you can freak yourself out by thinking about all these things that are online. You know, what are the people going to say about these games? You know, how will they like my playstyle? Do they like me as a person? Oh, there's so much money online. Like, Bomber doesn't think about any of those things. Bomber just really does his thing, and he's very happy with it.
Yeah, he just that aura of confidence in a game when strategy is such a big part really shapes what you're able to do. So for this game, we have these fast factory openings, and Bomber going for his nice little setup. He likes to put that barracks on the ramp. I'm expecting to see him move that factory as well. So Polt can't really get Hellions in through the front of Bomber's base. This is why he does this. In fact, after he defeated Cure actually, in his semifinal performance against Innovation, used the same setup to lock down his own ramp and saying, hey, this is actually pretty good at stopping your opponent from running Hellions in your base.
Yep, the Hellion, of course, did see the factory, but didn't see what else. It's going to be a Raven opening here for Bomber. Now, most likely these two players will switch it up quite a few times. Polt is going for a medevac play, Nate. Polt is going to bring some aggression towards Bomber, which could work out. It all depends on, you know, how well will those other turrets do. If you drop an auto turret but it won't participate in the battle, then your Raven is utterly useless. However, if you drop them and they will participate, then it's very nice, because they take damage priority, and of course they have quite a bit of HP. It takes a long time for slow Marines or unstim Marines to kill other turrets.
Yes, especially when you consider that if he can get these units in. Yeah,
I really love the supply
keeping vision of his main base is very important. The Hellions are trying to go for that counter. This is exactly why Bomber does this, because now the Hellions are useless. 8 Marines being healed are still quite strong. He can juke away from where that auto turret is. But as time goes by, Bomber's defense just gets better and better.
Yep, he doesn't really take any damage at all. Of course, Polt is building his command center on location, so despite the fact that it's a little later, he will be able to make up for that.
It's got to be frustrating to see that Bomber's already got a third command center about to finish, though. Like this, if I'm playing TvT, I'm going for my Hellion drop. As my Hellion drop arrives, he's like, he's got 3 command centers? Are you kidding me?
And I'm not killing anything?
It's like, I actually didn't kill anything, and he's got 3 CCs.
Well, he just lifted up the factory. Of course, it's hard to run up a ramp, especially if Bomber puts his units in a good concave. That Withermine seems to be a little bit out of position. I think Polt will still try, though.
Polt has to, he has to get something done here.
Okay, well, these Hellions swinging by. That's going to complicate things a little bit for Bomber because his army's slow. He's going to pull the SCVs.
Oh, great catch
he creates
with the
force field. Oh, no, don't use the Withermine, Bomber.
Only losing 3 SCVs so far. Okay, loses another one building that additional barracks, but this is manageable again for him. Polt just needs, like, if you're Polt, you absolutely have to kill a few more workers, and this is fantastic.
Man, since when do Terran players have force fields, Nate?
We don't like to tell people our dirty secrets, Roddy.
The human force. But 8 SCVs have died in the end, so that was okay. It was a good move for Polt. I really like that he still went for it, because he kind of needed to make something happen. If you open up like this, and your opponent is opening up with 3 command centers, and you don't do anything, well, then you know that in a minute or 3, things will start to look a little dicey, because especially Bomber is going to have a lot more units than you expect him to have. Of course, Bomber had a very immobile defensive army. I didn't like the placement of the Withermine. That's the only thing that I disagree with there of Bomber's defense. Because those Hellions should have not just been able to run up the ramp like that.
It's really tricky because you
he always going to try to run through Marines, pick up that medevac.
Drops
what is happening,
drops, man. They're making a figure 8 around each other. That's what's happening, Roddy. And it looks like this figure 8 ends. It should end favorably if that medevac actually heals him.
Yeah. Well, the medevac was healing the wrong Marine.
Look at this. The power of medevacs, man. So close. That's so far.
Well, that just happened.
That was pretty cool.
We tried to cast it, we failed. Let's do it again.
It was all right. Keep in mind, Bomber still has that awesome advantage of the 3rd command center. Polt needs to make a big push in the next couple of minutes with this 3 barracks setup that he has. But even Bomber now is getting those additional racks up. He has a reactor finishing, so if he can defend, eventually he's going to grind out an advantage just from having so much extra income.
I mean, that was funny and all, but I do think that Bomber would have loved to see that medevac actually enter the main base to have a better feeling of what Polt is really up to. Because he hasn't seen anything yet in the main base of Polt. He did see that there was no command center on location yet, and most likely, whenever you're a Terran player and you know that your opponent expanded before you, then most of the time you'll drop your command centers on location. So I guess it was sort of a tell for Bomber, but he didn't actually enter the main base, and that might be a little frustrating.
Yeah, the thing is, Polt has started a 3rd command center. So Bomber doesn't need to worry about the big 5 racks attack that Polt has actually done quite a few times, and if I recall correctly, utilized at Battlegrounds DC. Of course, Bomber's no stranger to using builds like this himself, but it's just something that it's nice when you don't have to worry about it, because it means taking your 3rd base won't be too difficult.
There's a bunch of tanks right now sitting in the main base. Bomber has not thrown down a single scan yet, most likely just trying to... he knows he took a little bit of economic damage, and he also knows that the orbitals will make up for it, but there's no need for him to make this game more complicated than it is. He's going to try to go for a small adventure with all of these Marines here. Upgrades are even right now. Neither player has combat shield. But the... okay, this...
Oh, wow, it's like 2 drops. When 2 drops run into each other in the dead of night, huh?
Yeah, that's...
That's a nice little catch for Polt, though. Bomber's trying to see if he can get aggressive. Of course, with the Bomber's tanks are laid out, he's really concerned about being hit with a big drop. However, if you look at the natural, it's a little bit exposed with all the Marines tucked into the main and those medevacs. In Terran versus Terran, plays like this, being aware of where your opponent's army is super important. Because you could go for a big drop play in the natural on those tanks and just, you know, wipe them out, get a few workers.
Polt has not really moved out either. He's been enjoying his worker lead for the previous few minutes in this game. And he's had the map control as well, he's had the map presence, but you know, normally we would say that's a big deal, but most of Bomber's games look like this. He just doesn't really move out, and he just sits back and he builds up, and then he just gets the engagement that he's looking for. He's an absolute master in reading which fights he should and shouldn't take. And most of the time, by the time that the fight starts, it's already so obvious that Bomber is in a really good position. That's why that last game was special, because it really looked like Polt was putting himself in a strong defensive position, and Bomber had to work hard to look for openings. But in the end, he did find one.
But once again, Polt has the upgrade advantage. He's starting his 2-2. Bomber has just started his +1 armor, so Polt's Marines are going to be significantly more I guess actually Bomber's Marines are going to die much faster is the way that this works out. So it might seem like, okay, it's just a one upgrade discrepancy, but it has a huge impact in fights. And if we see a big Marine on Marine engagement, it would be very clear which player has better upgrades.
Yeah, but I mean, in a minute or two, it might actually be 2-2 Marines against 1-1.
Yeah, that
is huge. Because we saw that before with the 3-1.
Yeah, the Armory has only just started too. Great point, Roddy.
Yep. Bomber, his units are just kind of scattered all over the place. I really feel that the last few minutes have been very uncomfortable for Bomber, even though, you know, he's used to being uncomfortable, I guess, in games, but it just seems like every single time he's trying to do something, it gets intercepted by Polt immediately, and he didn't necessarily lose all the units that he sent out, but he just really hasn't been very flexible with his movement or actually been able to proceed with what he had in mind.
It's really tricky. Secret missiles. Like, pick up some tanks. One of those tanks is already damaged. A splash should maybe get 2. Oh, close.
I still don't think that he can just run into this, though, especially now with the upgrade advantage.
The upgrade disadvantage, he's really asking for a lot. The tank count is in favor of Bomber, which gives him that anchor, but you still have to worry about the vision. Polt doesn't need to send any units out because he has the watchtower.
Oh, this is actually, if I was Polt, I would try to chase that army, because Bomber just pretty much traded all of his Marines for the tanks, which normally you would say is a good thing, trading minerals for minerals and gas, but those tanks looked very exposed for Bomber there for a split second. I guess Polt doesn't really want to take a fight before he has 2-2.
Yeah, he doesn't need to take a fight before he has 2-2. He's got to be feeling comfortable. Both of these players have, you know, a solid position. It's just that the clock in that next 30 seconds is going to be something that Bomber has to wait for. It's like, I need my +2 upgrades.
Bomber starts +2 attack. Nice drop over here by Polt. The natural is pretty exposed. There are a few Marines trying to run to the rescue, but a few SCVs will die. The tanks are a little bit exposed as well. Polt capitalizing on this opportunity. I really feel, even though it's still so close in supply, I really feel that this game is going well for Polt. It just seems like most of the things that he's trying to do.
Yeah, now with the 2-2 finishing. Bomber, by the way, only has a single engineering bay.
Yeah.
He's getting +2 attack. He cannot get +2 armor, and waiting all the way for that upgrade to finish. His Marines are just, you know, they're chumps, man.
Yeah, okay, well, this is one of the plays that Bomber probably needs to somehow still win this game. He's going to pick up everything. There is one very, very perhaps important
like, man,
Marine.
They never sent anything out here.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I spotted something. Yeah, I definitely spotted something.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we saw on King Sejong Station. All these medevacs are full. Bomber, if I was him, I wouldn't try to base trade. He's going to try to stim.
No, man, just look at the setup that he has. Look at the defensive setup in the main.
Yeah, he has Marines, he has missile turrets. Oh, his Vikings as well. Medevacs will get picked off. Oh my god, this is painful.
Bomber!
No!
What are you doing? Bomber, stop!
No!
No!
Oh no! Not again!
Not again!
Not again!
The medevacs caught on the edge of the map.
I can't
Polt
believe
steps
it.
up, kills
I cannot
every
believe this.
single one of 70 supply.
That's ridiculous, Nate. I cannot believe that we just witnessed this again. Between these two players.
I don't believe it, Rod. I don't believe it.
I am speechless.
Well,
you know, I would say that this is a pretty good moment for Polt to attack.
Yeah, well, you know, I like to attack when I'm up 70 supply. I'll agree with you on that one, Roddy. That's just a smart thing to do. Interestingly enough, Bomber actually got vehicle plating instead of attack, so his tanks can't really kill Polt's tanks that fast either.
Polt just has so much more right now than Bomber has. When you lose that many units that are stuck in medevacs, it's almost impossible to hold against a big attack. Bomber is forced to pull all of his SCVs, and he's actually doing sort of reasonable in this fight, but I'm afraid in the end it doesn't really matter. The upgrades are better for Polt, the numbers are in his favor, and Polt will even up this series. Again, Nate.
That's supposed to be a story that we tell for like the next few years. Like, do you guys remember that one time? Yeah. That one time where Bomber lost 8 full medevacs of bio to Polt's handful of Marines. Now it's like, do you guys remember in the 2 years since? It's like, do you guys remember back in Heart of the Swarm that those 2 times when Bomber lost 8 medevacs full of units?
Against Polt as well. Like look at these medevacs. They're like, okay, we're going to drop in. No, wait, we're going to go into main. No, wait, that's actually bad. No,
this is where being stubborn really does kill you.
It's like, there's a force field.
Anything is better than this. Anything. Even flying and losing half those medevacs is better than losing all of them. Not a single unit comes out of these medevacs.
Bomber knows. He's like, oh, that happened before. Deja vu. I love Bomber's look at this game. He finds that stuff funny. Any other player would probably break his keyboard.
As a Terran,
and Bomber just cracks his smile. He's like, hey, I made this mistake before.
Yeah, it's like, you know, my Medivacs doesn't seem to work too well against Polt, huh? How about that? I can't believe that happened.
The look on his face, that was priceless. That was probably the best reaction that he could possibly have as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know quite a few people that would be quite upset about that. Bomber's just like, I remember this one.
It's like, oh, well, last time it didn't help you. We'll see if it helps you this time.
You still won the last time that happened.
Map number 3 between these two fantastic Terran players is going to be played on Nimbus, a map that has provided us of a lot of pretty memorable games already over the last few months. This map really grew on me right off the get-go. Like, ever since we played this map in Atlanta, and we had that game between Polt and Suppy.
Polt and Suppy, yeah.
That was just such a good game. That was like one of my 10 favorite games of the year, probably.
That game was like, I like Nimbus now. Yeah. And we've seen some interesting ways that people have used the map.
And we see some funny cheeses on this as well, where Zerg players freaking each other out by not expanding in their base, but on the low ground. And
I'm going to take this base and make you feel really uncomfortable.
And then like the Overlord scouts, he's like all inning me, and then actually like the natural on the low ground is fully saturated. It's a fun map. I think both these players will enjoy it as well. Bomber has played mech a couple of times on this map, and I was surprised by that when he did it. Didn't he mech against Cure on this map, or am I mistaken now, Nate?
This has been a map where people have busted out some mech. Honestly, I would have said Bomber's gone mech a few times on Foxtrot Labs, so I'm not entirely sure what to expect.
Because I think he spawned on the right top, and his opponent spawned in the right bottom, and he meched, and he just marched across the map. Like, he defended, and then it went well, and then he trapped a couple of Medivacs with his Vikings on the left top side. Yeah,
Nimbus has been a map where this has been busted out quite a few times.
I am positive that
Flash
Bomber...
is on it. Flash did versus Tasia in the same positions on this map. Bomber...
Yeah, I think you mentioned it during the series we casted as well.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Yeah. Bomber's been doing that style with a lot of... His mech, he had like a lot of Medivacs in his army too, I believe.
Yeah, and then he drops all the Hellbats. He drops like...
He used the Hellbats
as a force field. Yeah, see, eventually we figured it out, guys. No matter how much StarCraft we cast, eventually the light bulb will goes on.
We can piece it together. We can rebuild it.
Alrighty, we are loaded into game number 3 of the second semifinals of WCS America Premier League Season 3 over here on the right top side of Nimbus, the reigning champion of the Red Bull Battlegrounds in Washington, D.C. Give it up for Bomber.
And this man who holds the title of most Medivacs killed at a single time, the red Terran player in the bottom right, representing CM Storm, he is Polt.
And the cool thing about what just happened in that last game, like earlier already, Flo showed us the main base of Polt multiple times, and he showed us that there were missile turrets on the outside, and he had those Marines patrolling around, but there were other things happening, so we didn't really talk about it, but he never pulled those Marines away.
Yeah, it's been really crazy. Nice tweet. Shout out to Seltzer. Not gonna go out, just gonna stay in and watch Polt play. And all that support.
Yeah, Rachel's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
She still has the passion. She does some other games, but no, there's nothing like your first true esports love, Nate.
That's true. It's hard to get away from StarCraft, that's for sure. Of course, thanks to all you folks that have been tweeting out, spamming your kappas in the chat. We're happy to have you all here, and of course, our awesome live audience. This series has been pretty damn good, huh, guys? Seems they at least slightly agree.
Nah, they agree. They've been pretty loud today, Nate. Every now and then I have a hard time understanding.
They just joined the club of people that can say they watch live 8 Medivacs get wrecked, full of units.
I mean, in all honesty, there were a lot of people in the DC venue, though, Nate.
That's true. So it's not the most exclusive club ever, but there's not too many.
But it's the one that's hard to enter. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
All right, so we saw Bomber going for the command center first over here on the right top side of Nimbus. It's a large map with an in-base expand, so nothing too shocking. Polt on the other end is going to open up a little bit more aggressively. He dropped to pretty much the quickest factory possible, I guess a few seconds before the 3-minute mark, or just a few seconds after it. He's definitely going to try to be aggressive. Bomber will most likely prepare himself for this, so he knows that this is one of the possibilities that Polt can throw at him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, on this map, the way that the spawning locations have worked out, it's very easy for Polt to get a drop over to Bomber's natural expansion. And Bomber's build, it's like, yeah, you have a command center done already. You're getting 2 orbitals. Yay. But if you don't have a lot of units, suddenly things get really tricky. Because you build this factory, and in any other matchup, you're like, well, now you get a reactor. Even in the old days of TvT, you get a reactor after your 2 Marines, and you try not to die to a Reaper. But if you're only going to have like maybe 2 Hellions or so, when the 3 Hellion, 6 Marine elevator is possible, that's where you can just die.
And there is a lot of surface area on this entire main and natural expand area, I guess, as well. So it's hard to cover everything with supply depots or the very few units that you have in the early stages of this game. So it's definitely going to be a little tricky for Bomber. He will spot this first Hellion from Polt. So now he's like, alright, that must have been a very quick factory for you. I don't think that Bomber is going to drop a reactor immediately though, or do you? Because if he does it, then he doesn't have any production at all.
No,
he needs to start producing Hellions.
Bomber's a smart guy. He would not do this build without recognizing the inherent weaknesses of it. And that's one of the things that makes him such a smart guy, such a champion. I like his flows pointing out Command Center first. Like, you get your extra workers, but you need that time to build the orbital. That is good. That's an advantage that's going to slowly build for Bomber. But Polt can erase that edge if he can just pick off a few SCVs here and there.
Unit position is going to be extremely important in the next few seconds for Bomber, because if all these units unload one by one, Polt is going to try to drop them over here on the high ground.
This depot is really nice. He can see
he
that
can
he's
fly
coming
back.
in.
He can pick up the Hellions as well. They're stuck on the low ground.
The Hellions are where things are complicated. Bomber's already pulling SCVs. He knows he's responding to this too late. And even getting the 3rd Hellion, man. This feels like my latter games, man. It's really hard to stop this attack.
It will all come down to the engagement. What are the Marines focusing on for? Now he's just going to fight units with units. He will lose more than 7 SCVs. Oh, well done here by Polt.
That was great. That was really great. Of course, Bomber still has the 2 commanders, but losing even a few more workers
and he picks up the Hellions again before that Hellion shot from Bomber actually does some real damage. Excellent execution of this build so far by Polt.
Yeah, Polt is now going to transition to siege tanks. I think you get this Viking. You can actually just go for medevacs and try maybe even do a crazy follow-up drop. It's not a bad choice. Bomber has to be feeling a bit uncomfortable now. But it's not the end of the world since that command center first allows him. He's still even on workers, and until the orbital finishes, he's got more production.
I can't emphasize enough on how much the execution of that excited me of what Polt just did. Like, it's so easy to go for the natural, especially while spawning in the right bottom side of the map. But Polt had, Bomber had his units in position there because he was expecting it. But like we mentioned before, there's a lot of surface area on Nimbus in your main base. So Polt just decided to go for the low ground next to the natural, and then also picked up these Hellions immediately.
That's the most important part, because you are so close to that low ground when you drop your Marines in that position that Polt went for, that it's easy to get the Hellions without moving your medevac out of position. If you drop in the natural, you have to go all the way to the other side of that big chasm, and that can give your opponent time to just bum rush your Marines. And then
if you lose three or four Marines, you lose so much potential damage out there.
Every single Marine in
Bomber is
going to
mech this game.
Really important.
I already was pretty sure about it. He's going to drop his 2nd factory now as well. He did, of course, get the engineering bay. The doors are wide open, and these 3 Hellions are just like, oh, okay. But there are plenty of Hellions for Bomber to take care of this for now. And I kind of like the fact that he's going for mech, especially
it's really nice that he's able to get in and see that, though, Polt. And he does get an early read on it,
But you know, Bomber needs time, and if there's one thing that's hard to just straight up kill, it is probably mech. You don't really want to run into a defensive mech player.
No.
That is a nightmare scenario. It doesn't really matter what race you play.
That's how people die, Roddy.
Yep, you need time to deal with mech builds. And Bomber will most likely be able to get the time to at least stabilize and find himself in a position that he starts feeling comfortable with again. It's very nice for Polt that he dropped that 3rd command center on location. His economy is going to be fantastic. Does Bomber have a... No, he doesn't. He just has Hellions. He doesn't really have anything else.
Yeah, and those Hellions are back home getting repaired. The 3rd command center being built on location for Bomber makes things a little awkward. Polt not only gets the advantage of your army builds faster when you play Bio, but you get this 3rd base down so much more quickly.
Yep. Bomber is actually sitting in a minor worker lead now. That surprised me a little bit, but I guess Polt has been building that command center and stuff. Now he's able to produce 3 SCVs at a time, so it should really skyrocket for Polt in the immediate future. Bomber has way more Hellions over here, but the tanks should keep Polt safe. I really don't think that Polt should lose any SCVs in the upcoming moments of this game.
Nah, this is... I mean, with the number of Vikings that he built, Bomber can stop any drops. With the tanks that Polt has out in front, you can't really run into this. So they're just fighting for a little bit of map control. But now these Hellbat drops, this is where Bomber can try to get some gonna get some pickups here.
Yep, especially because Polt doesn't really have any units in his natural at all. It's really important for Polt that he sees these medevacs soon, but the Viking alone is not going to be enough, unless it will scare Bomber, but it really shouldn't. Bomber in general is pretty just like this. Oh, he could have, if he would have gone for it. Okay, that's really good news for Polt, that Viking did scare the medevacs away. Because he had nothing, there were no units anywhere inside of that natural of Polt. He had nothing in the main, and he had nothing in the natural. If those two Hellbats being dropped, he's guaranteed to lose a handful of SCVs, and he's going to have to pull all the other SCVs away.
Yeah, those Hellbats can cause havoc very quickly. Bomber has his blue flame on the way, 2 tanks at a time, +1 mech is finishing, which will allow his tanks to be just a little bit beefier than Polt's, which is a big deal.
That Viking deserves a race, Nate. That Viking just saved the day. That Viking saved lives.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like, don't you know there's a bunch of big scary guys waiting on the other side of this door? It's like, okay, man, thanks for the warning. It's like, ha, there was no one there.
Actually, we're really we're a little short on staff right now, but they don't have to know.
Bomber has now taken the gas at his third base, so he's a fully situated mech player. Now is the time where Polt, if he can find anywhere to poke and prod, this is where he wants to start to do it, because his production was set up earlier, his third base was much earlier. He wants to try to pull this mech army around and get a little bit of work done here. I'm really interested to see how, though, because this core, with the Vikings chilling with those medevacs in the natural of Bomber, you see, if you tried to drop this, the Vikings would not only kill your medevacs quickly,
but the Hellbats are right on top of your bio units.
Yeah, the Hellbats will be right on top, and then there's still the tank in the back. So you kind of, I mean, you very easily get squashed if you tried to run in here. Bomber, he really understands what it takes for a mech build like this to be safe against a player like Polt, who loves to drop.
I've seen Bomber do it twice on this map, and both times he won, and both times it was pretty convincing even. But in both those games as well, the first big skirmish against the bio units, he was able to just demolish it with those force fields of the Hellbats, if that makes any sense. He just flies in 4 medevacs, drops it behind the bio units, and then there are tanks shooting at bio units from one side, and Hellbats roasting the Marines that are trying to run away or get closer from the other. Scan goes down, Bomber... well, Bomber scans, Nate.
It's important to check these kinds of things. You see the extra barracks finishing up, you know your opponent's committed to bio. If Polt has a small army and you scan, suddenly you could see starports. The problem for him is that Polt is also getting starports and a fusion core.
Yeah, the fusion core, exactly.
That's the kind of scout that makes you feel really comfortable, but it's actually terrible because now you don't expect it. Actually, wait, his scan caught the fusion core. It just barely caught it on the edge. Okay. Well, I guess it might have looked like an engineering bay, but I'm sure he clicked on it.
What was that TvT that we casted on merry-go-round with the Terran at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, where one of them went into...
Polt's actually gone for these pretty quick battlecruiser transitions in the last few TvTs that he's played. In fact, he might have done it when he played Bomber on this map the last time that they met.
Okay.
Because he wasn't fooled by it. But the only thing that has me a little bit curious is Bomber
scans again.
Still just building 2 Vikings at a time. I'd love to see him go up to 3 starports as well, but he also has an opportunity to try to kill Polt because these battlecruisers take a while to build.
And like 2 battlecruisers are not really going to change the outcome of this game. There are plenty of Vikings unless there's really no anti-air at all. The Viking count on either side is right. It's 10 against 9, so it is close. If those PCs come out, that's definitely complicating things a little bit. There's no Ravens.
How are you supposed to win an air battle as Bomber? Polt doesn't care as long as he trades out and kills the Vikings of Bomber. His battlecruisers, given enough time, will wreck this army. And he's also taking the bases very far away because he knows mech ball is slow.
Maybe Bomber was slowed down enough for Polt to really make him get away with everything that he's been doing so far.
Yeah,
because this was fantastic. It's a little deceiving right now because Bomber is maxed out. You're like, oh, that's okay. Oh, he's losing medevacs full of Hellbats. Bomber just loves losing medevacs with units inside of them.
Yeah.
Man, if Bomber after his career ever decides to become a pilot, I'm never entering that plane.
Yeah. Forget that, man. He's got 4 Viking production at a time, which is nice. The weapon refit upgrade is on the way to give that Yamato cannon to the battlecruisers of Polt.
Yeah, that's... Man, this game is going to have to take a while for Bomber now. There's no way that he can really make too much happen with this ground army because he's going to have to win the air battle. But like you mentioned, this is bizarre.
Polt has more production than him for sky units.
Polt has bases all around the map. He's just throwing command centers up left and right. Like those are warp-in pylons, but they're actually bases. All these Hellions are going to chase these Marauders, but this doesn't really matter. Polt is just... I mean, obviously you don't want to throw it all away for free, but in the end, he's just freeing up supply. He's buying time for more and more battlecruisers.
If dragging this army all the way to the top left has one of his ninja bases scouted, Polt doesn't really care.
No.
He's more concerned about these battlecruiser fleet he's amassing, because once you get a couple of max energy BCs, those Yamato cannons will wreck the Vikings. You need Ravens, which he's not building.
The only thing that's really nice for Bomber is that, of course, he's the mech in play. He's going to have much better upgrades on his Vikings. And I think that Polt got a little bit too reckless with his Vikings on the top side of the map, because he lost almost...
He can be kited, yes.
He lost almost all of them. So these Vikings, they do have some wiggle room. They can actually sort of get the job done, but the Yamato cannons will get casted.
Yeah, nice... It's a nice way to use them, and the problem is now the battlecruisers are chasing the Vikings. The Hellbats are pushing through. Bomber says,
Marines though. Marines come to save the day.
Too much.
These tanks need to protect the Vikings.
Those Marines are so low. At this point, the tanks might as well just start firing away. They actually do kill most of this army. The Hellions and Hellbats return home.
This is going really well for Bomber. He's making it work.
I think,
again.
yeah, Polt seems those units he threw away in the top left actually did come back to bite him.
Yeah, he just lost like 8 or 9 Vikings over there, and then he didn't replace them because he was making battle cruisers, and they're kind of like carriers, not that bad, but they take a while before they're out. And Bomber is just pumping out Vikings 4 at a time, and you know, if you give a player like Bomber 10 Vikings against 4 BCs, he will find a way.
Yeah, and the thing is, because Bomber has those 2 reactored starports, building Vikings is not a problem for him.
No.
Polt.
Bomber needs to do something pretty soon, though, because Polt has a ridiculous amount of bases, and the longer this goes on, eventually it will get good for Bomber.
Polt still got the cash money, that's for sure.
Yeah, and let's not forget, but Bomber still has those upgrades, Nate, those mech upgrades. He has 3 and 2 on his upgrades against 2 and 1. He's going to win this Viking skirmish as well. There's 1 battle cruiser.
Yeah, well, Polt's finally getting a bit of an edge here in this air battle. His ground army pushes the Hellbats back.
Okay.
That money, man, that money. Polt's just still raking it in. That battlecruiser, as long as it can fire with impunity, it's going to slowly kill down this whole force.
Yep, it seems like Polt has sort of almost stabilized now that BC. There's just nothing to contest that battlecruiser.
This is such a crazy setup, because I really liked Polt's position earlier, and then Bomber managed to clean up the army.
Yep.
But in this matchup, when you have this many bases, as long as you don't die, like the weakness of Terran, right, is the way the production works. So all you need to do is keep your production safe, and you're totally fine, because he's got money to pump out units for days. And now, Polt doesn't even need to worry about this 4th base that Bomber 4th and 5th, because he's already up to like 7 bases. Yeah, he can freely mule to keep his bio. Like for him, it's about the engagements and having the right army more than it is about harassing Bomber at this point.
Yeah, of course. He doesn't really have to harass, but this is a very crucial base for Bomber, though, because obviously...
He does need it.
Bomber really needs the base. Like for Bomber, for Polt, it's not the end of the world that Bomber gets it. Yeah, because it doesn't mean that he's going to be behind. He's going to try to snipe it, though. Bomber, you need to repair this ASAP.
Polt's trying to snipe this like a Nexus, but probes can't repair. That's something you learn very quickly in StarCraft, so the base will survive.
Well, he gets 13 SCVs. It's something.
Yeah. At this point, the Mule Hammer is going to be pretty strong, but Bomber definitely needs those workers for gas, that's for sure. He wants that planetary done now so he can stop committing units to it for the defense.
Polt starts focusing more and more on bioproduction again. He is producing still a few Vikings. His +2 vehicle weapons, his armor is about to... or +2 armor for the mech units is about to finish up for Polt. Bomber, of course, already had that upgrade. He also has +3 attack. But he still has that minor advantage. Actually, his +3 armor is almost about to finish up, so Bomber is about to have 3-3 on his mech units.
Yeah, this is still a little bit tricky since you have too many tanks pre-positioned here. The planetary is still not done yet. The Hellbats will drop on top of this. Bomber doesn't have enough of his forces here to take too much of it head-to-head.
He can't really lose all these Vikings either.
Landing the Vikings is going to complicate things. We have Polt building more battle cruisers. Polt takes the supply lead once again. You know, man, just having all these bases, having all of these bases for Polt is so nice. Bomber only knows about the 4th. He doesn't know about the 5th, the 6th, or the 7th. And those are all orbitals too, so he has the ultimate Mule Hammer.
Yep. Giving
7 orbital commands on the field.
A taste of his own recipe, I guess, Nate.
Yeah. I mean, he has 69 SCVs. He doesn't even need half of these at this point.
Yeah, Polt, his income is ridiculous, so he's able to just keep throwing away all these units. If he just takes down 13, 14 SCVs in the process while losing them, then those trades, in a weird way, they're okay for him, because he can just drop mules for days on all those bases that still have so many resources left. He's going to try to do it again. He really wants... If he gets this planetary, that would be such a massive pickoff, and he gets it. That is brilliant by Polt. Absolutely brilliant.
Polt can freely throw away units all day because he's got money in the bank.
He's getting starport number 3 and 4. Now he's getting +3 armor for his own mech units as well.
Straight up to 5 starports total. And this will allow him to build 3 battlecruisers at once. He can start to get Ravens out. I still think Ravens are good. A couple point defense drones really have a huge impact in a fight like this when you're fighting in the skies. Okay, there we go. Corvid Reactor starts up. We will see some Ravens. I really love Polt's position. Bomber needs to play this slow, but how slow can you take it when your opponent has all these bases, so much income?
I think it's safe to say that Bomber is going to max out one more time, and then he pretty much has to win. Because the longer this goes on, Polt does have 14 SCVs more than Bomber. I actually think that he has way too many SCVs because he has all these bases, he has all these orbitals. There's really no need for Polt right now to have 70 supply stuck in SCVs.
He jumps on the 4th, picks it off. He's going for the 5th as well. And Bomber, he could end up just counterattacking into BC Viking.
Yeah, Polt is really using the strength of this very mobile bio army, and all these mech units are just a little too slow in catching up. Now a lot of the Hellions are fighting.
Gun helping a lot to clean up these forces. I think the Viking count is still in favor of Bomber, so he can slowly pick off these BCs and then retreat.
Though. Look at these Marauders, Nate. All these Marauders from Polt are going to town, cleaning up the majority of these tanks. All of in the end, a few Marauders will die in the end to these tanks, but this was still very good for Polt just because he's so much richer.
Yeah. The problem is, after all of these fights, in a normal Terran versus Terran, in a normal any game of StarCraft, the first thing that you say is like, well, who can remax faster? Polt can afford to put every single production. He could build full queue Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, Vikings, tanks. He can go right back into battle cruisers if he wants. He can build Banshees. He's got too much money, and Bomber just can't compete with the income. He's like, okay, maybe I'll pick this base off. Polt can send his SCVs to one of the other 4 spots on the map where he's still mining.
Yep. We often joke about Bomber's lack of scouting, but in this game it has truly hurt him. All these bases around the map. Polt's going to land his Vikings. He's going to clean up these tanks from Bomber, and he is going to win a 27-minute game on Nimbus. Polt 2-1 up against Bomber right now.
And that was good, man. The way that Polt controlled that game. You said it perfectly. Bomber, not known for being the most scouting player in the world. That is the ultimate way to abuse someone that you know won't scout. Just take other bases on the map because worst comes to worst, you're Terran. If he scouts it, you can fly it away. It's not going to kill you to cancel it. And then you're still bio. So your army is mobile enough that defending those bases is also a realistic option.
It was a pretty crazy game, and obviously a lot of things happened. But in the previous times when we saw Bomber using this strategy on this map, it went well from him right off the get-go. And the first time that the bio player decided to poke and tried to make something happen, Bomber just shut it down completely. He barely lost anything, and that makes his follow-up push so much stronger, because then there are no battle cruisers yet, or even if there are, then there's like maybe 1 or 2. Things got a little tricky for Polt one moment in the game when he threw away all those Vikings on the north side of the map.
Yeah, that was the tipping point right there, because Bomber's push was strong, but the fact that it got routed while Polt was taking those bases meant that all he needed to do was not die.
Yeah, this fight I really thought that the Vikings... is this the first fight? There were so many crazy... Okay, this was the fight where the Vikings are just kiting the battle cruisers. There was another big engagement later on where I felt like it was going okay for Bomber because he had a lot of Vikings and he had more... he had better upgrades as well, but Polt, I guess he just had so many reinforcements coming in that it really changed the tide of the battle in his favor.
Yeah, Polt picking off those expansions was nice. You're slowing down the economy of somebody who by no means can match your income, so... what a... You know, for a Terran versus Terran, like, there's so many little things that come into play for matches like this.
This was really that one fight, because it looked like Bomber had like 8 or 9 Vikings. And you're like, all right, he just killed most of the Vikings. He still had Vikings from the previous fight. He's going to win this. But suddenly Polt having a few more Vikings than I thought he would have. Of course, he was pumping out 4 Vikings at a time, pretty much non-stop from those starports. Just a really cool game. But I think it all comes down to the fact where Polt in the start, he didn't get impatient. You know, he had his first initial drop because that was just his opening with these Hellions and his Marines. Did okay for himself, and after that he's like, all right, I know what's going on. I've seen you do this build before. I am not going to try to find an opening desperately while losing some of my bio units and then being forced to replace them and then just sitting back and having to defend this really scary push that you're going to make when you're at 170, 180 supply. He's like, no, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to rush up to battle cruisers and I'm going to take bases all around the map. Just a fantastic adjustment there by Polt.
Yeah, really, really great. TvT gets so crazy these days, but the way that game started off, the big Hellion attack, the elevator, while Bomber had that command center first blade. There's so many different ways for these games to snowball against one or the other. And Overgrowth as a potential decider map does make things interesting, as this has been a historically weird map for Bomber in general.
Yep, like you mentioned before, Nate, there are multiple times or multiple occasions people have tried to proxy Bomber, and then it looked like, wow, that went really well. Bomber is pretty much crippled. He's almost down and out. These two had a pretty famous game against each other in the finals of the Battlegrounds in Atlanta, but then Bomber was able to just transfer all his units across the map, and he intercepted the push that Polt was about to make. But the Marines were ahead of the party, so the tanks were very exposed. Bomber stimped forward and picked off 4 or 5 siege tanks and was able to claw his way back into the game and actually win it. But now Bomber is on the ropes, Nate. It's been a while since I've seen Bomber trailing in this series. The last time has really been that series against CGNT's Hero. It's like pretty much the only time that he has been trailing in a series. Even against Big Baby, the final that he lost, he was up 3-1. Yeah.
It's really crazy to think about it. Bomber, this would be one of the first... When's the last time he dropped a series aside from that final? It has been a while.
The CGNT's Hero, Casper Cup.
Yeah, Casper Cup.
That's pretty much it. Other than that, he wins most of the things that he's participating in. And he's definitely not out yet. So if you're a massive Bomber fan, don't worry, because he too has made his comebacks throughout all the years that he has playing StarCraft 2. As you guys can see, we're already loaded in to map number 4. It is going to be played out on Overgrove. And over here on the right top side of the map, spawning as the Blue Terran player, representing Red Bull. Give it up for Bomber.
Has a little bit of a hurdle to overcome, as this Terran player is one map win away from moving on to the grand final to face Heart. The red Terran in the bottom left, representing CM Storm, he is Polt. You know, historically, the whole bio versus mech thing has been really interesting to follow. And you look at all the different ways that last game could have panned out. Polt has shown that he likes to try to take this approach for killing his opponent, because maps like Overgrowth really complicate, maps like Nimbus can really complicate things, how close the bases are, for trying to make that drop pressure work. If this is a very small map, we've seen Polt get very aggressive with even one base tank pushes, and I can tell you, the way that main ramp works, you have that nice cliff area where you put tanks under, Marines go up. Things get crazy very, very quickly if you let yourself get caught off guard. But this being a smaller map also lends itself to these fast factory builds as well.
Yep. This could be one of these explosive TvTs that we've seen pretty often over the last few months, where both players, regardless of what they see or what they think their opponents are doing, are still sending their medevac full of units across the map, which obviously means that you leave your main very, very exposed, and then it's just like, all right, you're going to hurt me, I'm going to hurt you, but we'll see which player does a little more damage. And things can truly snowball out of control, because you can kill 8 SCVs but still lose the game if you have nothing left at home anymore.
I don't even want to think about how many games that's happened to me. Like, yeah, I got in, I'm like, oh, he has no workers. You look back at home, there's a Banshee, you're like, oh, I can't afford to build a Viking. That's it.
And then like the last SCV that's carrying those 5 minerals, and it gets
like,
sniped as well.
Slow motion as it barely tries to return and it dies.
Yeah. So quick factory, of course, for both players. The one of Bomber is a little quicker than the one of Polt, I believe. I guess Polt made... Well, it's pretty much the same.
Well, so Polt has done this before, though. This ever so slightly later factory than his opponent. Basically, he just doesn't go gas first, but still, you know, his first gas expenditure is on that factory. Okay. So this gives him options. Yeah, it could be a Banshee opening from Bomber. It could also be the Raven once more. If he thinks that Polt is the one that's going to open up with a Banshee, he would obviously love to be the Raven player. I kind of think that's why he made the Raven on Merry-Go-Round. The Raven is never really a bad unit, of course, because it has multiple purposes. Ravens are a Swiss Army knife unit, right? Like there's so many different ways to use a Raven, especially in the early TvT. In fact, I think back to Polt's series against Cure, was it, where he picked up massive kills with a Raven.
Yeah, the game on Catalina.
The no-stim game.
Yeah, that was a great game. That was a great TvT. So first Banshee is on the way. The second gas was pretty late, and there's also only a single SCV on it. Polt is going to start off with the medevac, so this could be one of those moments. Like we've often mentioned this in the past as well. If you're Bomber, and the moment that you're going to see this, he has two choices. Either he sends the Banshee across the map, and he will most likely do some damage with it, but if it's medevac into Viking, then there is a chance. I like that, by the way. Or he keeps it at home. If the Banshee is at home, obviously the Banshee has a lot of DPS. It will represent, you know, a lot of fighting power, so that's safe. But Bomber likes to go risky.
Only Bomber could go for the fake cloak into real cloak fake out. That is, you know,
yeah, because that was such an obvious fake that nobody would ever buy it.
Yeah, it's like, well, you didn't start it until I looked, so clearly you're not getting it. And then it's like, wait, is
that was cute. That's why I was
double
giggling.
pump fake by Bomber.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny because it was so obvious that it was fake, but in the end it's real, so that's actually kind of cool. So the Banshee is going to spot his medevac. Bomber, oh, okay, Polt's actually going to drop Marines below this Banshee. He saves one Marine on the other side, he's going to get it!
It's so close!
Yes, misclick.
Great grab, Polt! That is a huge pickup at the start of this game. There is a Widow Mine with 6 Marines to cover. And, you know, the Widow Mine will one-shot one of the Hellions. Of course, it can really chunk out against these Marines if he moves in. But an attack on the ramp or any of these cliff areas could still work because that Widow Mine's really not as close as it needs to be.
I think he wants to make sure that the Widow Mine will actually shoot. I think he's afraid that, like, I don't know.
There must
be a reason why he's doing it, because he did it on Merry-Go-Round as well.
Hasn't Bomber lost his factory like this before, too?
Yes.
Don't tell me it was against Polt. Okay, he's going to move it away.
Cloak is about to finish up. He's still sending that second Banshee across the map, by the way, so he's really relying on this Widow Mine to hold down the fort. Of course, Polt could decide to elevate the units into the top little corner if he really wants to.
I think it would work, man. The healing power of that medevac is not to be underestimated when it comes to keeping these Marines alive, especially if SCVs get pulled.
What does Polt have at home? The natural is very exposed. There is a Viking, but let's not forget, the cloak was real because of this double fake out that Bomber went for. So he can start cloaking, right? Yes, he has cloak.
He has a scan too, though. Makes things a little weird.
Still, though, this is doing some work. This is obviously doing more than it normally would have.
Yeah, now Polt's aggression, like all those units outside Bomber's base just stopped. Like,
I just wonder what's going through Polt's mind right now. He's like, this really makes no sense. You start cloak when I scan you? It's like, you're supposed to do the opposite.
Well, this is like that Hail Mary.
He's gonna live even.
He didn't expect it to get him this much, but, well... That's how Bomber just gets inside your head,
Second Banshee on the way as well, Nate. They said, no, this is going to be 2 Vikings, but there's still no missile turret,
there's no missile turrets, no Ravens coming out.
Oh my god, these Vikings are just wreaking havoc over here. 15 kills.
The next Banshee shows up too.
And Banshee number 2 is almost here.
Okay, so he kills one because it runs out of energy. Now,
no,
if he
he's
gets
going to
inside
dodge
scan
it.
radius, if he gets over to that missile turret that's building, okay, he won't be able to reach it.
You can also just go for the natural. Oh my god, Banshee number 3.
Oh,
I mean, where's the last time we saw this? Yesterday, Nate? But then it was Oracles. But those Oracles actually didn't do anything. And these Banshees are.
Hey, baby likes to make flying units. I can make flying units.
Okay, most likely that Mr. will finish up. But in the end, this went a lot better for Bomber than it initially looked.
Polt remembers that he has units outside of Bomber's base. He's like, okay, you can't just take this expansion like this. Bomber's like, I have a tank, buddy. Got a tank. And if you drop on top of this tank, I have a Widow Mine next to the tank as well.
I mean, those Banshees, of course, are not cheap. So it's not like it didn't cost Bomber anything, but a couple of scans went down and Polt is down in SCVs. And from this point on, Bomber should be able to start producing 2 SCVs at a time. Polt's actually going to go all the way and he's going to drop Marines on top of this tank. He will be able to get one of the tanks. But
not bad. Oh, 2 tank kills.
No, I don't think he's going to get it.
SCV comes over to repair. No. He wants to be the hero.
Oh my god, wow.
Well, Polt, man, these guys are trading blows so much. You guys, it's not yet even 11 minutes. We're just hitting 11 minutes, and
so much has happened in this game. Like, I feel sorry for the guy who writes the live report threads on Team Liquid, because how do you keep up?
At some point, Bomber also squeezed in a 3rd command center, and he's going up to 5 racks. Polt has just 2 barracks production. He really was slowed down in a lot of different ways by everything that's happened in this game. Despite any workers he's killed, despite the tanks he's killed, he is significantly far behind on upgrades, infrastructure, and economy.
Yep.
Bomber's ahead in pretty much, the supply looks close, but Bomber's ahead in every way imaginable except for that tank count.
Yep. Banshee gets caught in the middle of the map. Scan could be thrown down.
Well, that's an expensive pick-off, especially if that Banshee escapes. Okay, now kill it. But even then,
it's another scan, and he actually did some damage.
He's slowing him down. He just slows him down a little bit more.
Man, there's been so many Banshees in this game. 4 Banshees have died already, and there's not a cloak Banshee. Polt must be wondering what's going on. Like, this guy really loves Banshees.
The Banshees are real, that's for sure.
How many units does
There's another Banshee on this map, too. He's building another one. He's just going to keep building Banshees.
This is not a thing normally.
This is a Bomber thing to do. He's like, I just want to keep building Banshees.
Okay,
right?
he's gonna try to siege up next to the natural because he has the tank lead. That's the. Oh wow, this Banshee just barely misses his army, but
he saw it. He saw it.
Okay.
He just had.
So Bomber needs to reposition his tanks ASAP.
Yep. One has been repositioned. There was the Widowmine was actually waiting there. Something was waiting there. He killed. And now the Banshee comes back. Forces a scan, but he does a little bit of damage to that tank, and he can only shell this refinery, nothing else.
That's not the end of the world for Bomber. I mean,
really,
losing it is sort of annoying, but who cares? Like, as long as he doesn't lose a lot of SCVs. And another Banshee shows up. Polt is probably wondering what is going on. He should build a missile turret over here.
Stop building so many Banshees! Oh, man.
He's like, please run out of energy.
I'm just like, how many Banshees can one man make? He's finally moved that starport off of the tech lab, though. The Banshee madness has come to an end. We can at least say that.
I don't think I've seen a TvT where a Terran opened up with 7 cloaked Banshees in a while, Nate. I have to go back to Wings of Liberty for those days.
That's something else. We know this army is still really small.
Bomber's army is pretty massive. He's going to steam forward,
yeah,
and he's going to pick up everything. Should kill the medevac as well to make sure nothing escapes. There you go. Massive victory here for Bomber.
Yeah, Bomber's looking in a really sexy position. He's moving to take that third base.
Should try to pick up the Vikings.
He still has a sick amount of production. His +1 attack is done. His +1 armor is on the way. He has combat shield. He's going to start his armor in a second eBay. Polt is just now starting his additional barracks. He's been on 3 for a very long time. His 3rd command center is just about to finish. Still needs to turn it into an orbital. I still like everything in this game for Bomber right now. Polt still needs to pick up some big plays.
Armory going down for Bomber as well, so that will allow him to actually get his upgrades in time. And I like the fact that you said as well that he's getting that 2nd engineering bay for the first time pretty much in this series, that he's really prioritizing upgrades. I mean, in the mech game he sort of did it, but he was on the back feet since the start of the game because he lost a lot of SCVs. This time he will actually be ahead.
Crazy. Well, that Marine just died.
That was uncalled for.
Yeah.
They could have just sent in a few Marines to do the job. There's no need to 3 tanks at once.
That's cruel.
Tank shells are really expensive in real life.
That's true. And in real life, the tank shot will cost a lot more
like
than the
for
equipment.
Protoss, like the interceptors cost money. I really think that tank shots should cost money too, Blizzard.
Don't give anyone ideas like that, Roddy. Come on. You know us, Terran.
We already don't see mech very often.
It's okay. We only build tanks in one matchup right now anyway.
It's like, well, you guys are going to fight each other with like 18 army supplies at the 20-minute mark.
Please, no.
Bomber's still pretty in a comfortable position, ahead in army supply. Has been ahead in economy for the majority of this game. And let's not forget all the scans that Polt had to throw down. The only thing that, of course, slowed Bomber down a little bit was that he made so many Banshees, which disallowed him from making medevacs. But he's been catching up in the medevac count as well. And overall, you just gotta love life if you're Bomber now. Of course, TvT is a matchup where if you can catch the opponent off guard, if you can catch the tanks on siege, if you can get a very favorable fight, it can swing in your favor again. Because this is not like it's impossible for Polt to come back, but Bomber is ahead.
Yeah, Polt is the one right now that's in the playmaker position. He has to do something, or Bomber is just going to max out faster. Bomber will force a fight. And then Bomber will kill him.
It's also hard to find openings when you're behind, though. Because most Terran players, if they were in Bomber's position, they would have already started to apply pressure, started to apply taking map control away. But Bomber just plays this game so different than almost everybody out there.
I mean, this is the part where I'm supposed to say that no one's perfect. There's got to be an opportunity. But Bomber with his sensor towers has most of his bases covered. He has missile turrets ringing around the edge of his base. I mean, Polt can try to defend and then max out and go for a good fight, but even then, he's still behind in upgrades.
I'm intrigued by Bomber's army movement over the last 40 seconds. He just like ran back and forth.
I mean, all he's really worried about is being caught off guard by like a big drop. Like that's the move you usually lose to in TvT when you have a nice lead. Is the other guy's just like, screw it, pick up your whole army, and, book a flight to your opponent's main base.
One of the Marines from Bomber will scout this medevac on the left side of the map. Bomber also threw down a scan over the entire army of Polt, so he knows what his opponent has, and he should also be aware of the fact, like, alright, this should be my game. He's going to move forward. His upgrades are not ready yet, but he does have an overwhelming amount of Marines. He commands them forward to get closer to the tanks, and it was a good move, Nate.
Yeah, fighting even without his own siege tanks. Bomber just takes a nice trade, cleaning up the majority of the Marines of Polt. Polt, though, slips into that third, grabs a few SCV kills, nothing crazy, but Every little bit counts. Every little bit is a big hurdle for him to overcome. Bomber starts +3 attack. Polt can start +3 attack now as well, but that +2 armor is still well ahead for Bomber. And when you have Marine versus Marine fights, especially without tanks, things get tricky.
Kind of an awkward engagement there for Bomber though. Most of his Marines were trapped behind his tanks. Polt has been doing okay. I really did like that move command from Bomber though, because he was aware of the fact he had an overwhelming amount of units there. And if you just attack move, then most of your units won't shoot. So he move commanded forward with a nice group of, let's say, 16 Marines to get close to those tanks. And then he started just attack moving, which was excellent execution of that engagement.
Polt's army is not in position to deal with an attack on his third base. He's like, yeah, actually I can't defend this, so I'm just going to pick it up. And this is Polt really giving a lot of respect to the army. He's basically saying, I know I can't kill you. I know there's no way in hell I'm going to defend this base. But look at this.
Wow, he has a lot of Marines on the left. Yeah, that is more than just a few Marines. This is a crazy amount. 4 medevacs for the Marines.
Killing this base is the play he's looking for. Polt runs these forces in. He's going to lose almost all of these Marines immediately. Great defense by Bomber having so many tanks there.
3 tanks really made a difference there. If you have 1 tank and a few Marines, there's no way you can fight against 28 Marines of your opponent. But with 3 tanks and more than just a handful of Marines, that will get the job done.
Polt has searched near and far for an opportunity to squeeze back into this game. Bomber has shut the door at every turn.
A really beautiful TvT display by both players so far in this series. They've always been very evenly matched throughout the entire history of StarCraft 2. They have traded series back and forth. They're 6-6 when it comes to winning series. They're pretty much even when it comes to maps. And even though Polt lost the last 2 times against Bomber, he's showing us that he can still more than just compete with this guy.
Yeah, Polt loads up a lot of medevacs, just barely spotted on the right side. But now Polt's third base, once again evacuated, and these Marines are like, yep, yay, free command center.
Easy pickoff indeed. Polt is going to try to make something happen in the main base of Bomber though. I'm not sure how much Bomber has.
Big drop in the main, big attack at that third base.
A lot of missile turrets, but he's still just going to storm into this base, drop all of these Marines. This could get tricky.
Matched, so he actually couldn't produce any units in his main. So the few forces he has sprinting in here to defend, which aren't enough, can't actually do it.
No, that's not even enough, because he doesn't have medevacs with these Marines either. If Polt just starts fighting all of these Marines one by one, Polt will keep this drop alive forever, and Bomber has to send his entire army back to the other side of the map.
This is the opportunity he was looking for. He needs to just keep racking up kills in this infrastructure. If he could even see these tanks and grab these, so many, look at how low all these Marines are. If Polt fights away from the tanks, he can actually kill most of these forces.
Oh, he's going to pick up one more tank. Oh my god, Bomber is actually really struggling to deal with this drop.
Marines have no health. Like this. Like Polt just needs to just tuck himself in the, tuck yourself in the top of his base, kill all of his supply depots, and just all these Marines.
Oh my god, the massacre. Wow, that's...
And Polt's positioned himself outside of that third. Now the tank line is real. Polt brought his SCVs as well.
The boys are here.
Well, he doesn't have enough Marines to break this, but he will clean all of Bomber's Marines.
It's even actually in army supply right now. I cannot believe this. Okay, finally Bomber will be able to clean up his main base, but this was one fantastic drop for Polt. He's even going to save the majority of the medevacs. Bomber just left his medevacs idling near his fourth base for the longest amount of time.
Biggest problem for Polt right now, as he moves to reestablish a third base, Bomber has his third still, and he has that fourth. The planetary fortress locked down. Polt is going to make a move on it. He absolutely must kill this base if he wants to bring this game back. He's very close. He's done a great job. Bomber steps forward, takes a couple of tank shells from his opponent. Medevacs moving forward to give vision. Great decision by Polt to bring Vikings, and he has one tank shelling away on this planetary. Polt's actually making this happen. He's taking a back trade on the left side, but he's slowly finding little bits here and there.
Bomber should just attack, you know, best defense is offense. That means, of course, if Polt has all of his units over here,
this army is very flimsy. I mean, Bomber can either counterattack or
pick
go
up
for
the
a
tanks,
pincer
Bomber.
on this.
Well done there. Bomber picks up the tanks. Don't lose the medevacs, though. Not again.
Really good control by Bomber.
Yeah, he takes a 30 supply lead now, and yes, there are tanks over here, but most of the tanks are a little too far away. If I was Polt, I would try to move them perhaps closer to the planetary.
You want to kill that planetary and get out of dodge.
If he loses these SVs, this is pretty much the only mining base that Polt has right now. You really can't afford to lose it.
Bomber should have this, man.
Oh, these medevacs, there's nothing there.
Now Polt gets to lose medevacs.
Well, at least they're not full of units, Nate.
Yeah, that's... Well, if only he had units to put in them, right?
That's even worse then, I guess. A couple of Marines going to stim forward. They're going to ravaged this mineral line, and I think that Bomber is going to even up this series. 4 absolute fantastic TvT games over here, Nate. They're really giving us a fantastic show today. The games in Atlanta, they were a little short and explosive. DC was cool, but was still relatively one-sided. But these games, they've truly all been back and forth.
Now this series has gone the
It's been
distance.
a slugfest.
Yeah, and it's going to go all the way, man. I don't see Bomber being stopped here. Now with the wonderful advantage he's had all game. GG.
Wow, what a series. What an this is TvT the way it was supposed to be played, and this is the mirror matchup of which StarCraft 2 fans have said around around the world over the years that this is the best mirror matchup. But over the last few months we've seen a couple of pretty ugly TvTs, let's not be honest. When a best of 5 in a TvT is done in 30 minutes, you know something is wrong. But it seems like we have found a stable ground again, because all 4 games so far have been a joy to watch. And let's not forget, if you're enjoying these games, of course the winner of this semi-final will move on to the grand final, where Axiom Heart is waiting, and Axiom's Heart is of course a Terran player as well.
Yeah, there's still a lot of TvT left today, boys. Hopefully all of it, hopefully the rest can be as good as the few games that we've had so far, because
these games have been an absolute treat to watch. I've been really enjoying them.
And this has been one hell of a series so far.
Like we see so, like we cast so much StarCraft, and we have casted so much StarCraft the last few months, but the things we have seen this weekend, they just bring like this huge smile to my face. How often do you see a TvT where one player opens up with 7 Banshees, Nate? And
no,
this
that
is
doesn't
not
happen.
This is not ladder troll hours. Like no, this is actually just Banshee battle. Look at these Marines, by the way, that he moves commands towards the tank.
And the concave is so good. A lot of these Marines are derping behind the tanks for Polt because they're not in range.
Like if Bomber just attack moves there, like I'm not saying that he won't win the fight because he still had way more, but he's going to lose way more forces than he actually did there, because he separated 16 or so Marines from the pack and he move commanded them via the south side of that battle. Really well done. It's those small things that are extremely important. A moving is great, but sometimes, Nate, you need to make that risky button, the move command.
Sometimes move commanding is better than attack moving, that's for sure.
And sometimes it loses you games.
Well,
we've all been there.
When you have 8 medevacs loaded, I will agree with that too.
The final map of this series is going to be played on King Sejong Station, a map where of course we've seen a lot of 2-base tank pushes as well. Because of the way that the natural is laid out on this map, it allows tanks to shoot at the middle line from the low ground. But both these Terrans are aware of it, both these Terrans have executed it, and both these Terrans have played against it. So there are not too many surprises. I can't wait to see how it's going to play out.
Yep, it's going to be an awesome final match for this second semi-final. One man wants to get his first WCS America Championship in the top left position, the blue Terran player. Representing Red Bull, he's brought this back to a tied series. Can he do it? Give it up for Bomber!
And over here on the right bottom side of King Sejong Station, the Terran that made a remarkable comeback yesterday in the quarterfinals. Give it up for Cooler Master Storm's Polt. You want to hear a fun fact, Nate? It's a little irrelevant, but it's kind of fun. Of course, these two players have been running into each other a lot over the previous few years, but never in the history has either player defeated the other one 3 times in a row. Polt has defeated Bomber once, twice in a row. Bomber has, of course, defeated Polt now twice in a row, but never has either player won 3 series in a row. That would be the first ever. That's the first time you could ever say that one of these two truly has the other player's number.
That's a cool stat, Roddy.
Now you know, Nate.
Now I know. With how back and forth it's been, that, you know...
Yeah, that would almost be injustice.
It doesn't surprise me. You mean you don't want to give someone the complete illusion that one of these guys dominates the other, because that's totally not true. Just watching this series, it's really been a slugfest. That's the best way to describe it.
It really has. So many units have died. All right, let's take us through the openings. Nate, you as Terran expert, talk to us.
Well, Bomber's going to build a very fast factory, and Polt is likely to do, well, I guess with the Reaper play. He's shown a few times he likes to go straight for the factory himself, even though he doesn't go gas first. But it's going to be a Reaper expand once again. So we're starting to go back towards where we were at the start of this match. And Bomber, he seems to be the guy that commits the least to this a gas first aggression, right? He'll make a Banshee or a Raven.
And he often does.
Rarely more than that.
And he often does switch it up as well. I feel like I said before, Bomber always has his plan set in stone and just kind of follows it. But then there's like 1 or 2 key moments in the game. It's like, okay, if X happens, I'll do Y, and if Y happens, I'll do X. Like either I go all the way with my cloak, or I just cancel it. And he's a special player, that's for sure. But this factory was very, very quick, as quick as it could possibly be. So that's of course nice for Polt to scout. Bomber, sticking to his roots, has not scouted yet.
Well, goodness knows if we had a game where Bomber didn't scout, we didn't have a game where Bomber didn't scout, we'd have to actually make sure it's not a robot sitting in his chair.
I was in shock when he threw down a scan and killed an observer of Pig Baby. Like, I looked over to see if he was still sitting there, Nate.
So Polt's going to go for the factory now that his reactor's done. This is pretty standard. We've already seen this build out of Polt in this series to start everything off. Bomber, on the other hand, the Banshee play didn't really do too much for him this series. He's actually going for this Marine Hellion play. We might even see a medevac for him.
Yep. Yeah, Bomber is actually going to do sort of Polt's opening, the one that Polt went for on Overgrowth and also on Nimbus. Can definitely work out. You know, take a look at the main base of Polt. Polt does have a reactor, so he will be able to produce Marines 2 at a time, and will probably produce Hellions 2 at a time. Is he going to switch it up after these Marines?
It depends, right? Like, there is a pretty popular build that's been creeping up more and more to go for like this fast 2-factory blue flame with a lot of Hellions and Vikings at first, but Polt just, he's not a mecha.
Right. Let's not forget about this Reaper that's hovering on the left side of the map, because right now Polt or Bomber sent all of his units across the map, and nothing is more frustrating than there is a single Reaper when you just don't have anything in your main and you're adding a reactor and stuff as well. This is really frustrating as a Protoss player.
4 SCVs go on the hunt.
This. I truly like. Polt can just attack move with that Reaper. There's nothing there.
Nah.
Unless he wants to bring it home to defend, but it
might
takes
be
a while.
little bit worried. Well, Polt doesn't actually have anything that can really defend against this in his base. A handful of Marines will not cut it.
It's going to come down to the Widow Mine.
Well,
Widow Mine?
No, come on. If you take
maybe just run the Hellion into the mineral line and soak up the shot. Oh, this is bad for Polt. Polt's going to take a lot of damage. He's going to have a lot of issues dealing with this. There are 2 more Marines that are about to pop, but he doesn't have a medevac yet. The Viking is about to pop as well. Widow Mine is so close to shooting, but Bomber is doing a really good job in avoiding it.
Yep, the Widow Mine.
Oh, those Hellion shots.
Now that's a really big pickup. All of Marines instantly
but
die.
Hellions,
but ooh, that Hellion positioning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's...
No, they're still alive.
Ooh.
They're going to be able to get a couple of SCVs over here. There's nothing.
Is some smooth
the Viking
moves
is like,
Bomber.
give me upgraded legs. I can fly, but why can't I run?
Oh, man. So he does pick out the Hellions eventually. Important things to note. Poltz has still that double mule capability to get his production going. Oh, wow. That was nice.
Man, I really wonder what would have happened if Bomber would have just sent 1 Hellion forward and run that Hellion towards the SCVs. Because then the Widow Mine triggers.
That's a pretty finesse. I can tell you, only thing I can say about stuff like that is I've tried and failed many times. It's not easy.
But this is Bomber.
Messing with Widow Mine AI, it's like you don't think about if you can, you should think about if you should.
He's already raining down a lot of damage over here, Nate. And there's no engineering bay yet for Polt, so he's gonna have to wait until his scan is ready. And there's a good chance that a single scan may not even kill this Banshee if the Marines are not positioned below the Banshee. Oh, this is just going from bad to worse. Of course, he had a much quicker expand, but he's losing so many SCVs. This is not easy to bounce back from.
Yeah, I mean, Bomber has his 3rd base on the way. Now that he's even on economy and slowly creeping ahead, losses like this,
not gonna get it.
Losses like this are crippling. And guess what? Guess what? Who's back? Guess who's back, Roddy? Another Banshee and then natural.
Banshee number 2. Hello. Well, that missile turret is not going to see daylight for a long time. It's going to be cancelled for now. This is a very, very, very dicey position for Polt to be in. Of course, Bomber, he made it to the finals of WCS America Season 2, and he's putting himself in an excellent position here after the start with those Hellions and those Marines. He set himself up pretty strong, and the Banshee follow-up has been phenomenal so far.
Yeah, Polt does have another scan. He's waiting for it. He's like, I know you probably have like 3 more Banshees on the way, right?
No, there is another Banshee in production, Nate, so far you're on the money. And this scan is not going to kill this Banshee. Like, Bomber should just send this Banshee back home and repair it.
Yep. He's like, okay, 1 Banshee out, next one in.
It's like, you know, it's like a tag team.
Have at him, boys.
This missile turret this is not going to complete. That's like the 4th missile turret that's being cancelled.
As a Terran player, myself and a few other guys will always like ask ourselves like how people like MMA make 2 or 3 Banshees do so much magic, and then Bomber just doesn't stop building Banshees, and they're all cost effective. They're all killing a huge amount of stuff.
At a certain point, this should well, that Viking is really on the hunt as well.
He's like
I know there's a Banshee
I am
somewhere.
so sick and tired of these Banshees in my base.
That Viking is actually Samuel L. Jackson, and he's had enough of these Banshees.
He has had enough of them. So Stim is on the way for Bomber. He's got all his barracks going on the way. Stim's actually about to finish as Polt has only just started. Like his follow-up is so much faster because Polt has just been being slapped. He is slapping Polt with these Banshees.
And there's plenty of ways for these Banshees to still be very annoying. There's no missile turret number 3 that's providing vision over these infrastructure or over these production facilities. So another scan has to go down while already being down 10, 11 workers. You really don't want to be throwing down any scans.
And there's still 2 more Banshees out on the map. There's a 3rd Banshee on the way.
He should really get missile turret number 3 next to his production facilities and his
The
add-ons.
funny thing is, Polt is usually that guy who gets 3 missile turrets when he scouts Banshee play, but this game, well, now he's up against 3, well, soon 3 Banshees.
And he already killed 3. This is an actual build, guys. Where's the Team Liquid guy to the 7 Banshee opening?
I'll make it this weekend, Ronnie. But I'll lose all my games, I feel, with it.
And even if your Banshees don't deal damage, you do not stop before Banshee number 7. Because it's all about being persistent in this game, right?
Look at how few Marines Polt has. He's just at 10. He's at half his opponents. Suddenly this tech lab, he's like, actually, I really need to scan because I'm not going to get Stim now.
Alright, a couple of Marines will get dropped on top of this tank, but there are so many units on top of this rank 4 bomber that I really don't think he should be taking too much damage. He should try to kill the medevac immediately, and I'm sure he wanted to do that, but Polt was aware of it. Oh, Stim!
No. Okay, well, at least you bait out SCVs you could also try to kill. There's a scan as it runs out of energy.
Poor Polt.
I don't want to tell you.
When it rains, it pours, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to mention how many times that's happened to me. Or the things I've said after it's happened to me. Polt's under the cliff of this main base trying to pick off something.
And you know that one Banshee that escaped with like 10 HP?
Oh, he's got a lot of
Hello,
energy
baby,
now.
guess who's back?
I know you missed me.
Yes. 120 supply for Bomber, of course, all these Banshees.
He does have another scan. But look, he's like, oh, let's build extra barracks. Nope, just going to kill these SCVs. Now, if he forces out a scan and escapes at this Banshee again, that's next level. But still, so many scans have been used. Like, you don't even have an economy because of this.
Yeah, of course, the only thing, like all jokes aside, all these Banshees are slowing down the medevac production of Bomber quite a bit.
Yeah, he's just actually recently switched onto the reactor to start putting them out.
He forgot a Banshee, though. This time he only made 6. Bomber. He's betraying his own build.
Wow, Bomber. You really dropped the ball on that one, not building 20,000 Banshees this game.
So the fighter, like, poor Polt. This is like the one game where he truly needed missile turret number 3 or a Raven. And now one of these tanks is going to take a little bit of damage. He's going to have to throw down another scan. It's inevitable.
Oh, almost gets that tank.
All right. On this point, Bomber.
So that was like the least effective Banshee.
Yeah.
Banshee number 6 doesn't do it. That's why you need the 7th, because it can finish off that tank and then magically kill everything else.
6 and 7 are like a package. They don't come alone.
Well, you know,
they come as a duo.
That's why 6 is afraid of 7, man, because it kills the siege tanks.
All right, well, this, there was still that winner mine that got a nice shot off, I guess. 97 army supply for Bomber. Bomber has just been doing so much work with all these Banshees. Now Polt adds another missile turret. One would say he could have used that one before, but...
This game, man. Bomber has just been bullying Polt.
Yep.
These Banshees show up, it's like, the way that those Banshees worked in the early game, he was just showing up every few seconds. He's like, hey, give me your lunch money. All right, I'll be back in about 30 seconds when the next Banshee arrives. And that's how it happened. And now he's a rich boy, and he's getting ready to storm this ramp. This is still, you know, Polt still has a nice position, but you don't have the supply that you need.
He doesn't have the numbers. It's a numbers game, truly. He's down 54 army supply. That's a crazy amount in TvT. Upgrades are not really in his favor either. Bomber's slightly ahead with it. Even though when they fight, they will probably be even in upgrades. But it's not like there's just no advantage for Polt in this game.
To put it in perspective, Bomber has 8 tanks to 5 of Polt. He has 73 Marines compared to 39. That's I guess I don't even need to say it's a big advantage. It's just so obvious. You have 3 times the size of your opponent's standing forces.
Yep, now the reinforcements are making their way across the map as well for Bomber. He's been having a lot of fun so far in this game, and this push, this should be a game-ending push. Even though Polt seems to be doing a good job distracting Bomber from actually attacking him. Because like it doesn't matter how far Bomber is ahead, if he never attacks, if you're maxed out, you're maxed out. And eventually, like from this point on, every second that goes by is a good second for Polt, because Bomber is already where he wants to be.
I mean, as long as Bomber doesn't load up his army into 8 medevacs, I think we're okay. That's really...
If he does that, I call match fixing.
That's, yeah, well... I don't even know what to call it, man. My brain will probably explode. It'd be like the first time it ever happened on a StarCraft stream. That'd be it.
Alright, well, actually, that's a good move there by Polt. He gets 2 tanks before this battle really starts, and his tanks get a couple of good shots up over there. Now, that's an okay way to start this little skirmish. Yeah. Polt needs more than just that, but that was pretty much as good as you could have hoped for. Oh, Polt he's going to use the medevac for vision.
Polt has been surprisingly good at batting these little pokes away.
Oh, no, he's picking up units, Nate.
Oh, God. Bomber, no. Bomber, stop.
Bomber.
Bomber, guys? Oh, God. Oh, he's... No, okay. You better go back. No. Don't you go in there, Bomber. Why? It's not worth it.
Why is he doing this? Like, he's just scaring everyone.
You've got so much to play for.
There are beautiful things ahead of you, Bomber. It's too early. It's too soon. It's not your time.
Just not in that direction.
I mean, but look, like I mentioned before, Polt was at 128 supply by the first time that Bomber was maxed out. Now Bomber is actually not even maxed out, and Polt is hanging in there. He's getting to 169 supply.
The upgrades are even for both players.
Yes, Bomber is getting his 3-3, of course, but that's not going to matter right now. And Bomber has so many units on the other side of the map that I actually think if Polt uses everything that he has right now, he can break this, and he can really turn this into a game again.
That's... Oh, boy.
Oh, this is a scary moment for Bomber.
I'm really blown away that Bomber didn't just win this game super fast.
Like, look at all of the reinforcement. Okay, this is really nice as well. Polt's going to try to cancel that 5th base, but look at the amount of army supply that's not actually with this army. This is only half of Bomber's potential army, while Polt has everything over there. He's looking at it.
This like, Marine for Polt's going to see. He's like,
he should go. Like, this is his moment. Exactly. Polt is going to go for it. Of course, there are still tanks and a lot of Marines.
A lot of the Marines got caught in the tanks in the bottom, but now Bomber's just...
Yeah, Polt is going to clean up. Wow, that's absolutely insane. And now suddenly Polt is taking an army supply advantage and is up in supply while he was down 70 supply, Nate. That's ridiculous.
I don't believe it.
Bomber just Bomber took way too much time over there.
You know, sometimes look in your head, it's like play patiently, get more ahead, but you give
Bomber is the guy
so
always
much
just Bomber is the guy who just wins games.
Yeah.
He doesn't normally do that. He stepped forward with a lot of tanks to see stop already. I don't think he can fight this either.
If Polt gets to Bomber's 4th base, things get really complicated because Polt has a 4th command center done. He has a 5th one on the way. Polt is going to be ahead in every possible way.
Besides upgrades.
Yeah, well, the upgrades are pretty much even, really. Like, there's not too much time that Bomber will have a lead in upgrades.
It's a solid 70 seconds, though. Don't you think that Bomber's going to try to push the issue during that time?
If Bomber can hit that, that's the best chance for him. But I don't think it's enough to lose this game if it goes on for another 5 minutes.
The medevacs are a move command on the right bottom side of the map. Oh my god, he just lost 6 medevacs over there, Nate. This push suddenly became a lot more intimidating. And Polt is going to sandwich the remaining tanks of Bomber. This is unbelievable. He does get a command center for it.
Well, picking off these tanks is a huge pickup. The 4th base is going. Excuse me, the 3rd base. Bomber runs a bunch of overstimmed Marines. Overstimmed again. They all just instantly die.
Okay, but he did get the command center, and he actually killed a lot of Marines.
There's another 4th base that's done. I'm still really concerned because the tanks are what take forever to build.
And he had like 6 medevacs in that army, Nate. Bomber had 6 medevacs, but the medevacs
13 medevacs total for Polt. Just 3 now. For Bomber.
I mean that tells the tale. The medevacs were on move command, and there were just 60 Marines of Polt shooting medevacs out of the skies.
Now Polt's 3-3 is finishing up in the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfair to say that it's now or never because it's still a very even game. But if Bomber wants to capitalize on the advantage that he built up after all these Banshees, there's so many tanks on the high ground.
That is an absurd number. You can't attack that.
No. Unless he drops everything on top of it, Nate.
I don't even know if that, like, really...
Just pick up everything, Nate. What can possibly go wrong?
Don't do this to me, Ronnie. My heart can't handle it.
scans going on either side. Both players just staring each other down. Of course, that 5th base is a very important one for Polt as well, but okay, this is too much. You cannot break this. There's no way. If Bomber wants to do something, it has to be at the 3rd base again. Polt's army movement has been very good throughout the series as well. It's been a joy to watch these two going up against each other. What a great series.
Yeah, well, Bomber has this... You know, this isn't even his full army. Once again, he finds himself... I mean, he's about to become the center of a really awkward tank sandwich if Polt decides to swing his forces around the other direction again.
Needs to scan. He didn't scan yet. He wasted a lot of time over there, but he does clean up 5 or 6 or so tanks over here. And if Bomber can siege up these tanks, that is a nice victory. Now Bomber needs to regroup, though. He needs to make sure that all of his forces are together. These two guys, they're just playing with my heart over here, Nate.
Bomber's taking that extra base in the top right. Loads up 2 medevacs. He wants to swing around towards that 3rd. Can even hit the main. There's actually nothing at that 3rd base.
Yeah, this is a very solid run.
Bomber putting pressure on this 4th is important because now he's bought himself a lot. He's created a lot of space for these Marines to go in on the 3rd. This is great.
Yep, if Bomber stims, he could get either a lot of SCVs. No, he's going to pick up and go to the main base instead. And this is tricky for Polt because now Polt is leaving his 4th base very, very exposed.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that Bomber can attack him now.
Polt is really reading the movement of Bomber very well there. Because Bomber was actually trying to go for the natural.
Oh man, yeah, going onto the rocks now. These tanks are in position for Polt. Oh goodness, I'm like trying to.
This drop, this is a very, very good drop.
Well,
it just seems like the magic.
It all started with killing those tanks at the 4th because Polt moved his whole army out of position. And now Bomber is just having a field day because he's got his base on the left side complete. He's mining on the top right. He's got army all around Polt's
You said
base.
it, Nate. That base is very exposed, and now Bomber is going to siege up with like 4 or so tanks in range of that planetary fortress. Actually, one of the tanks was in range of the planetary fortress.
That high-sec auto-track.
Yeah. Who says useless? 13 SCVs died. This will allow Polt to get an even bigger army. Another big drop. The medevac count in drops is going up, Nate. It started with 2, now we're at 4. It's just a matter of time.
Yep, his tanks get cleaned up at that 4th base. Bomber's building 17 Marines at once.
Polt is going to counterattack on the other side of the map, and Polt is currently the player with 73 Marines on the map against 50 or so from Bomber, and Bomber has way more SCVs. Well, the tanks are not sieged either.
So much of Bomber's supply
There's so much happening.
Is in production.
Yes.
He needs to just, honestly, Bomber just needs to hold down this area at the base of his natural ramp because this army for Polt is
massive.
Huge.
It's massive. It's absolutely massive.
I'm not sure he can stop this. This is going to be I want to say full up base trade, but I don't think Bomber has enough units in Polt's base.
This is oh my god, these tanks are getting picked off as well. Polt was down 70 or so army supply in this game.
Killing these Marines gives Bomber new life because he still has the income. Polt's income has dropped substantially, and Bomber also still has all of his production. Polt's lost a lot of his add-ons.
This game is ridiculous.
Just tanks for Polt can't actually stop this because then he can start to drop
micro
on him.
there as well. He's picking up the tank multiple times. Couple of Marines getting very close to the tanks. Is Bomber going to change this game around again? He has the army supply advantage now. This is madness.
Both players below 100 supply.
Oh my god, what a game.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, now you got to dig Bomber's position again because he has sort of stabilized.
Polt!
He was down so many Marines. It really looked like that was an unkillable army for Polt, but somehow the Marines did die, and now he has medevacs that wish they could heal tanks, but they just can't.
I fear that you just get a couple more forces out and you just drop on these tanks, and then you force them to unsiege and then stem everything else to kill them.
Like, time is not against Bomber right now, it's in his favor.
No, Bomber is in about as good of a position as you can be.
Here comes everything. The boys are being pulled as well. Tanks coming down from the main. Marines being pulled.
Bomber is going to swarm over this force of Polt.
6 series.
After an insane game 5, Polt does not have the economy that he needs to rebuild. He does not have the infrastructure.
He has one mining base with a lot of mules, and he still actually has.
His production's just been hurt so much. So many add-ons lost on his factories and whatnot. Bomber's going to have that economic position for a while, and also his standing army is still good. The one edge that Polt has is, I guess, his medevac count because he got them so early. This planetary fortress has building armor. So
really looking at the bright side of life over here, aren't we, Nate? It's like, well, he is ahead in this one unit that doesn't deal damage.
If Polt could force a base trade, he's got a Viking on the map, Roddy. Well, that's awkward.
That's a nice pickup. And he lost one of those important medevacs.
Yes. The medevac count drops, and suddenly
the hopes to go down as well. Now, it's still, like, surprising. Oh, actually, 65 Marines now for Bomber. The planetary fortress is powerful, though. Bomber's going to try to, or Polt's going to try to repair it.
That building armor, man. Bomber's losing quite a bit trying to break this.
Are you kidding me?
You know, there's a reason I gush over that upgrade, man. It makes stuff really hard to kill.
The Marines get close, get one of the medevacs.
It would be too fitting for this series to end with a bunch of medevacs being killed.
I would not accept that. 89 arms play against 74, incredibly close. One orbital command is so close to dying. Bomber needs to repair it. Orbital's actually really important.
10 health, okay. Woo.
So close, man. What a hero.
Bomber's really stressing us out today, huh?
I think he's stressing everybody out. It's been an absolute massacre, as Flo is showing us as well. 300 Marines have died.
500 plus total.
238 for Polt. Ridiculous. Another mining base for Bomber now, though. He's still producing 13, 14 Marines at a time. And like you mentioned, the infrastructure of Polt has seriously been hurt before.
What a crazy game. Bomber comes up now. He's swallowing the army once again on the left side. Polt, no
Marines.
tanks. Finally getting surrounded, dropping in supply once again as he retreats to that planetary.
Polt getting a little too ambitious over there, getting a little too far ahead of himself.
Bomber's economy at this point, this is where it really starts to matter because Polt is fishing for a couple scraps at that old third base.
Maybe he should try to float one of these orbitals to the 3 o'clock position of this map. I know it's going to be hard to defend, but he just needs the income.
You have to do something at this point.
Keeping the orbitals at home is not going to save
Bomber's
him.
getting ready to hit that non-planetary base. There really isn't... There's nothing there to defend. Like, unless you have the tanks, you simply aren't going to beat superior Marine numbers. I think this is where Bomber tries to nail it in.
Yep.
He's moving through. The medevac on the top right side will be deterred by the planetary fortress that Bomber has, and he's running in towards that third base. Polt cannot defend this expansion. Command center lifts off 2 command centers. As he's running, he tries to move in on the tanks, but there's just too many of them.
Yeah, there are so many Marines as well. That orbital just falls out of the sky like it was nothing. And still 80 or so Marines for Bomber. He's still producing 10 or 13 even at a time. Has these tanks over here as well. He's still up. It's getting, every now and then the supply still sort of swings, but Bomber is in a very, very strong position, but he has been in this position for the last 18 minutes.
It's 130 army supply to 82. Polt just has less stuff, and he's making plays, right? I mean, he's not dead. Somehow Polt isn't dead.
Because he's dropping all the muse on one base. Needless to say, time is truly his enemy, because he's going to mine out that fourth base at a rapid pace. And the moment that this base is gone, that's where things get truly complicated, because this is the hardest location to attack. Up a ramp and a planetary fortress with building armor. Bomber is going to perhaps try to do it one more time, though. The last time it didn't go too well, as he lost all of his tanks.
Yeah, he just postures himself on the other side, and as long as he's shelling away, things can work. He has to worry about those. That rock tower could be used against him if he parks too close up that ramp, too, though.
Things getting closer and closer. This has truly been one of the most exciting TvT series I've seen in a while.
This is definitely delivered, that's for sure. Polt's going to siege his tanks. He's running forward now, wants to pick up the medevacs and deny that high ground vision. Scanning. Trying to trade away his tanks, but his mineral line is still being shelled. And medevac for Polt, by the way, at the same time is still flirting around the top side with those bases.
Despite this game just being absolutely nuts, Bomber has been really doing a phenomenal job in just making sure that he keeps mining a lot of money.
He's been able to max out again because of, as you said, holding on to that economy. Polt's Hero Viking is going to push away once again that high ground vision. One Marine.
Behind enemy lines.
Damn you, tower!
Yes. He's like, I heard you guys shut down a medevac once. I am here. Oh my god, look at the amount of Marines. How many Marines does Bomber currently has? He has 118 Marines. Bomber, or Polt has had like 75 or so as well, but when you have over 100 Marines, Nate, beautiful things will happen.
I mean, the only thing Polt can count on is that Bomber keeps stimming these things, right? That's the only thing that Bomber's really made a big mistake on in this series, but it seems that, well, he's... No.
Oh, that's not a good fight.
He's losing a lot of those Marines, Roddy. Guys,
is
the
it
Marine
even
count's even.
The planetary, though, the planetary is about to die. Yeah, that's really, I don't understand this anymore either, Nate. Polt, this is the second time in the game that Bomber was up 70 supply, and that the game, like, you think it's going to end.
Bomber really likes stimming a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, with very few medevacts as well. Oh, planetary so close to dying. It's really, really close to dying. It will die.
He topples the planetary fortress. He now Polt's on the other end of the stick here with those very, very overstimmed Marines himself.
Yeah, but picking off this base was fantastic though for Bomber. That's really what he needed. That was the only mining base for Polt. Polt is officially broke as a joke right now. He's not going to mine for a while anymore, while Bomber has 2 mining bases and is still producing, as we see, 15 Marines at a time. Polt has to win with everything right now. This is when you press Ctrl F2, Nate.
He's got to go. He's got to go for it. And guess what? Bomber, he has entered the production once again of Polt. So no more units will be able to leave his base. And Polt, Unless he can force a base trade and use that one Viking he has to be the savior of his chances at the grand final, I don't know if there's too many more options left for him.
Nope, Bomber's gonna pick up pretty much all of these remaining buildings. There's still so many Marines over here. When you produce 15 at a time, life is good. He's going to lose one of the 2 planetary fortresses, but he still has another one. And there's really no need for Bomber to engage into siege tanks. He can just sit in his natural and wait until that army engages him.
Yep. Bomber's the man that has time on his hands, and Polt's buildings as they topple, so do his chances here at 56 supply to 123. I mean, on paper, it just doesn't look like it's winnable, but Bomber has thrown away so many units this game. My brain is telling me that it's possible.
I know, I will refuse to. Oh, those are pretty. Oh, he's going to pick up a couple of them. Good job there, but there's just so few Marines for Polt to work with. Most of his supply is in tanks and still those 4 remaining medevacks, but just without any Marines, Nate, you're going to have a hard time winning a base trade because buildings fly.
Yeah, well, there's also the problem.
Oh, there is the Viking, you're right.
At some point or another, he's going to lift all of his stuff up and just drop it on him. And that Viking actually just died in the missile turret.
Bomber is pretty much setting up for a beautiful finish. Oh, no, no, don't fly into the turrets. Don't pull the bomber. No!
That's one way for it to end. It ended the way that it started, Roddy.
Yeah,
with
beautiful
full
stuff.
of units
Fantastic
dying.
series. What a great TvT series between Bomber and Polt.
And Bomber will advance to the grand finals of WCS America Season 3. And now he's very close to clinching that #1 seed.
Yes. He is. We're going to have to do the math on that real soon. We have a couple of minutes. Just huge round of applause to both of these players. Polt absolutely played his heart out. For the first time in the history between these two, either player has defeated the other. 3 series in a row, but like we said, that stat almost does injustice to how the games were being played out. Because if you just look at this, it doesn't really get much more evenly matched than what these two has just shown us.
You can't ask for a better Terran versus Terran series than that. It was back and forth. There was, we had battle cruisers. There was the mech versus bio. We had 8 medevacs dying full of units.
We had 7 Banshee openings.
Yeah,
6 Banshee openings.
There was a little bit of everything.
That truly was. What a great series. Like, this is not, and even that last game, you know, when a player throws a lead, and often it's like, oh man, he really shouldn't have done that. But this game, it really felt like most of the moves that Bomber was making, they weren't even like that important. And suddenly the army supply, it swinged so much. And it's like, wait, does Polt actually have more stuff right now? But then like Polt is in the middle of the map again, and Bomber just jumped on it. Some series you shouldn't want to analyze it too much. You just want to leave it for what it is because it was beautiful.
Yeah, I don't want to dig too much into that. I think that's the best way to look at it. Crazy games and certainly a well-fought, well-earned game #5 in order to push Bomber to the grand finals where he will play one more TvT against Hart.
Second time as well that Bomber makes it to the grand finals of WCS America. Back-to-back seasons. He did it in Season 2. He was up 3-1 back then, but still lost against Big Baby. But he showed that just didn't shake him up. Nothing really shakes up this man. And I can't wait to hear what Bomber has to say.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bomber, here you are again, the 2nd season in a row where you advanced the WCS America Grand Final. We all know how last season went, and this season could be your opportunity to gain redemption. What would winning this tournament mean to you?
각설이신지 죽지도 않고 다시 또 돌아오셨습니다. 이번 시즌에서 우승을 하신다면 심적으로 이제 어떤 생각이 드실지요?
아마 이번이 마지막 WCS 북미가 될 것 같은데 뭐 은퇴한다는 건 아니고 북미에서 하는 마지막 WCS인데 꼭 우승으로 마무리할 수 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
Most likely, this is going to be my last season of WCS America. I'm not saying I'm going to be retiring, but in here in this studio, this might be my last appearance. So I want to end it well, end it most beautifully as possible.
All right. Now, if you win, you will also not only be the WCS champion, take your revenge for last season, but you'll also be first place in WCS points. Does that hold any special significance to you?
이번 시즌에 우승을 하시게 된다면은 고승현 선수가 시즌 초반부터 계속 1위 자리를 내놓지 않고 있었는데 WCS 랭킹이 순위가 바뀌게 되거든요. 1위로 올라가게 되니까 이제 그거에 대한 뭔가 동기부여가 좀 더 된다든지 뭐 그런 건 없으신가요?
대진표를 살짝 살펴봤는데 1등을 할 경우에 대진표가 저한테 가장 좋은 것 같더라고요. 그래서 반면에 준우승할 경우에 대진표가 약간 어렵기 때문에 무조건 우승을 해야 됩니다.
Earlier today, I had a chance to look at the current WCS rankings, the standing, and looking at it, if I win, I take over Hyun's position, and it seems like that's a better spot to be in, looking at how it's going to be set up for the BlizzCon in the orders. So, and actually finishing runner-up like last time, it's going to put me in a bit more of an iffy spot. So I'm not entirely sure how favorable it would be if I were to finish runner-up this time.
Now, standing in your way, trying to make you finish runner-up is going to be Hart. Now, I looked it up, and the last time Hearts beat you in a major tournament was back in 2012 in GSL Code A. Since then, you've beat him every single time. How confident are you feeling going into this match?
딱히 통역이 필요 없다고 생각합니다.
제가 그때 민혁이한테 떨어지고 코드비를 간 다음에 거의 근 1년 동안 슬럼프를 겪었는데 이번엔 꼭 지지 않도록 해야죠.
That time, that witch with capital B put me down all the way to Code B. It took me 1 bloody year to bounce back into Code A and perform the way I normally do. So I'm going to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
All right, well, Bomber, best of luck to you. We have Josh on the main stage who's getting ready for this grand final match. Thank you so much for your time. Josh, what's going on?